calling all emos, computer programmers and blokes called Malcolm who still live with their mum.
Crikey, there must be more to life than this.
It's the revolutionary virtual human interface you can access without ever leaving your bedroom.
And what were you up to the other night? That's what I'd like to know.
How cool is that?
Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. The Two Mikes, Parry and Graham on Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes. We're keeping you entertained throughout the night. So that was the January transfer window. They're not very exciting, really, was it? If it wasn't for Pep Guardiola and the other managers, the papers wouldn't have anything to write about. Is there any point in having it anymore? Can't all the clubs do all their business in the summer? Are we asking for Porky's opinion on that one? 08717 223344. Coming up on the show, we've got another edition of TalkSport's most controversial competition, Winners and Losers, which will try and ensure it is a gerrymandering-free zone. Plus, of course, we'll hear all about Porky's weekend bladderation as well. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very good morning and the start of another week to Mr. Mike Porky Parry.
Yes.
What?
Sorry.
Are you not ready?
Well, you didn't say hello.
I did say hello.
You didn't. You said it's time to say hello too.
Yeah.
But then you didn't say hello.
What? So I should have said hello as well?
Yes, I think you should.
It's time to say hello. What were you doing anyway?
You said
You're staring off into space.
No, you said it's time to say hello to Mr. Mike Porky Parry.
Yeah.
Then I'm waiting for you to say, hi, Mike, how are you?
Well, I never say hi,
that's
Mike,
good
how are you?
manners. Yes, you do.
I never say that.
Anyway.
I always say it's time to say a very good morning to
Yes.
Mike Porky Parry, and then you usually jump in and start insulting me.
Well, no, I don't, do I? Because, I mean, what I really like to know is you just misled the audience by saying we'll hear about Porky's bladderation mission over the weekend. Which one is this, then?
Well, I assumed that there was some
No, there was
bladderation
not.
involved. What,
No,
you
there
didn't
was
have
not.
a drink over the weekend?
Very, very little indeed.
Very little?
Very little.
Right. Well, you posted some pictures from Wetherspoons, didn't you?
One.
One picture from Wetherspoons.
No, I didn't actually. No, I didn't post any pictures.
Yeah, you did. You said you weren't going to be in isolation. I remember the menu.
That's right. Yeah, I did actually, and that was because I met a couple of friends and we watched some football. But then later I went home to watch the Everton-Carlisle game, Carlisle-Everton.
Oh, right.
Which was
so you were in Wetherspoons on Sunday morning then? Because it was a 1:30 kickoff.
Yes, it could have been.
Yeah.
Could
Who were you with?
Sorry?
Who were you with?
People.
Which people?
I call it morning prayers, the Sunday morning thing.
Russians,
you know what I mean? No, they weren't Russians. No, there was no Russians there. By the way, I'm going to tell you about the. We talked last week extensively about the Russians.
Yeah.
I've been sent a new book on the Romanov family.
Right.
They were not nice people.
What do you mean, the Tsars?
The Tsars were
Right.
not nice people.
No, of course they weren't nice
They
people.
had 19 torture dungeons inside the Kremlin. In fact, that's why the Kremlin was built in the first place, to provide torture dungeons.
But they met a pretty sticky end as well, though. The whole family was executed, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were taken down into a cellar,
and
shot.
The children were killed, and the gardener was killed, and the cook was killed, and they just killed everyone.
And they just chopped them up and buried them in sort of open graves.
These were the Bolsheviks, right?
These were the Bolsheviks, yeah. They weren't nice people either, actually. And in fact, considering that the Bolsheviks then turned into, like, Joseph Stalin.
Right.
And
well, the history of Russia
Lenin,
is very, very bloody.
It's very bloody
There's
indeed.
There's a piece in the Financial Times this morning, actually, about how Putin is going to privatise and sell off a load of stuff, apparently.
Well, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Because he hasn't got enough money, right?
Well, I read last week he's got 28 billion, apparently.
Like
that was a claim.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can justify that. Now, I tell you what I want to talk to you about. Because
we've got the transfer window to talk about. We've got Pep Guardiola to talk about. We've got Everton's final win to talk about.
Yes.
Beat somebody.
Yes.
And I suppose we've got the FA Cup draw to talk about.
Yeah, of course we have. Yeah, and the Bournemouth situation.
You've got other things as well?
Well, all sorts of other things.
Yeah,
but the Bournemouth situation is such that
What is the Bournemouth situation? Is that like the Bournemouth identity?
Yeah, that's right.
Bournemouth supremacy.
Well, you may be invited to come and join me at Bournemouth when
I'd be honoured to accompany
when Everton go back there on weekend of February 28th to see if we can get past Bournemouth in the fifth round of the FA Cup.
You're not going to be making another speech on the pitch, are you?
No, nothing like that. But I have been talking to friends in that part of the world to see whether we can possibly get down there and join in the...
Find our way to some spectacular viewing platform.
Well, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But listen, before
I'd be delighted to join you. When is it?
I haven't invited you yet.
Well, you said I might be getting an invitation.
I said you might.
Well, I'm just indicating so that you know that I'd be happy to come. Because we had this problem with QPR before where you asked me if I could come and then I said I couldn't.
Yeah.
And then you said that I'd let you down in some way.
Yeah, well, I'm going to
So what date is it then?
It's the weekend of February the 28th.
Well, they don't know what date it is.
How many times have I got to tell you?
Well, no, I'm trying to pin it down. I want to put it in the diary.
No, actually, it's not. Is it the 21st? I can't remember now. Hang on.
Do you want me to look it up for you?
Wait a minute. I've marked it down in my diary. I don't have my diary at hand. I have a paper diary, not an
Is that the
electronic
same
one.
diary that you give yourself, points out of 10 for?
I'm sure it's February 28th.
Really?
No. February 28th.
You told me it was February 28th.
No, I've got it wrong. February the 28th is the weekend of the League Cup final. Do you know why I thought it was February the 28th? Do you know why I thought it was the 28th?
Because it's a Saturday.
No, I saw that the game that weekend had been postponed and we were due to play Liverpool. I thought, that's been postponed because we're in the 5th round of the FA Cup.
No.
It's not. It's been postponed because Liverpool are in the League Cup final.
Yeah,
it's the
Everton are
weekend
not.
before. It's the 21st.
And, of course, it's a leap year, so there's the 29th of February as well.
Is there a 29th?
Yeah, there
OK.
is.
Not sure that that's of any relevance whatsoever. So it's February 21st. 3 weeks.
My information tells me it's the 20th. The Bournemouth game is the 20th.
The 20th? What day is that?
It's a Saturday.
How do you know that?
Because I'm looking at a calendar.
Yes.
So it says the 20th is a Saturday.
Yes, so it could be 20th or 21st, couldn't it?
Well, it could be, I suppose.
They haven't scheduled the actual day the game is on.
Why haven't they scheduled it?
Well, because the two clubs have got to talk to each other and wait.
Why don't they get on with it? What's the hold-up?
Because they've got to wait for the TV companies.
I need specific information. I can't be,
Well,
hanging about.
Go ring up the BBC
Right.
who film these games live
Okay.
and ask them what day they want the game on, okay?
I'll
and
do
then
that.
they can sort that out for you.
I'll do that.
Okay?
Well, surely they must
Yeah.
know. They've got to
No, they
run
don't know.
a commercial organisation
No,
as
they
well.
don't know. They don't know.
All right.
So you just got to hang on. haven't you?
It's only 2 weeks away.
It's not. It's 2 weeks next weekend.
It's
yeah.
2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've got a lot of time to plan this,
Plan what?
Well, we've got to plan going places.
You
It's
get
gotta be
in a
done
car,
properly.
you drive down the M3. Bournemouth is at the other end. There's a pier there that I can't jump
I may
off,
not want to go in a
and
car.
there's
I may want to
football
go on a
ground.
train.
No, we'll go on a train. I couldn't care less. You go on a train, and I'll save the springs on my car, wouldn't it?
Are you offering to give me a lift? Is that
I
what you're
might
saying?
give you a lift down there.
Well,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
been in your car yet.
Sorry?
I haven't been in a new car.
Yeah,
yet.
well, I'm not sure I want you in my car, but
I'm
anyway,
not sure
I
I'm
might
not sure I want to be in it.
I might make an exception.
Take my life in my hands. Getting in a
I
car
mean,
with
you might find yourself very lucky. You might get invited around for dinner at the old 7-bedroom, 7-bathroom mansion in.
Am I
the family
welcome there
Bournemouth?
after some of the things I've said?
No, not really. But I mean, I might be able to swing it for you.
Might have to
make
stay
it
the night.
respectable.
Would I have to stay the night?
You must be joking.
Will I get my own slippers?
It's a respectable neighbourhood.
Yeah.
They don't do things like that. Listen, I tell you what I want to talk to you about,
Yeah, go
right? The situation regarding Pep Guardiola.
Yes. Now, can I just remind you of something
Yes.
that I said when you were going on about how he wanted to go? He should have gone to Manchester United. It's the bigger club. It's the club with more history. I said no. He will definitely go to Manchester City, didn't I?
I think you probably did. But I think, to be honest, the whole world knew that.
Yeah, but you kept saying he was going to go to Man United.
I said he should have. I said that's what the wise decision would have been. But the interesting thing was that broke up sort of mid-afternoon, about 3 o'clock, didn't it?
Yeah, what's your take on who said what first? Because it's a bit curious, isn't it, how it all came out?
Well, I think Mr. Pellegrini has been, quite remarkable in his behavioural.
He's a very
pattern.
classy guy, isn't he?
Very classy guy.
Yeah.
And what I would say is, I think they must have all come to an agreement that look, this is oozing out of the edges here, and somebody's going to actually find out.
Yeah.
Because you can find out, because if contracts have been signed and all that sort of stuff, eventually it will come to pass.
So you don't think that he took it upon himself just to say, I'm leaving, by the way, because I'm getting fed up with all these rumours?
No.
You think
No,
you
definitely not.
cleared it first?
I'm certainly cleared it first. He said, didn't he, today, I've known for a month. So,
Right.
He managed to hide it for a month. Why would he have suddenly decided to get the hump today?
And also, people say it's not a very respectful thing to do with top class managers. And all that. But this is what happens in Europe all the time now.
Yes, of course it does.
happened
Yeah.
with Heinke's, the guy at Bayern Munich. It happens everywhere.
I think you'll find that it was decided mid-afternoon, bang, we better let the cat out the bag, because that's the best time to do it
Right.
in terms of the European news networks and all that kind
And I
of
saw
stuff.
Pep
okay?
Guardiola was wandering about a Munich airport.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
He went through the back door, didn't he?
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, but all
so
the laundry
he's
vans
not
were-
been contacted by anybody.
But anyway, look, the point of the story is this.
Right.
That means now that surely Manchester United have got to appoint Jose Mourinho.
You would think, yeah.
Well, they must do, because quite apart from anything else, a manager for a club the size of Manchester United or Manchester City or Barcelona, Real Madrid, has to have an absolutely bang-on character, reference and a position in life, as well as being a manager.
And Louis van Gaal is not that man, is he?
Louis van Gaal.
He's not that man.
One of Mr. Pellegrini's problems, we've agreed, he's a classy guy, but
Yeah.
one of his problems was he was just too quiet.
Yeah.
And he didn't go around marketing or branding Manchester City in the way that Jose Mourinho brands the clubs that he
and also
he
in the
runs.
way that the Manchester City's owners would probably have liked him to do, and the way that Pep Guardiola will.
Oh, yeah.
He'll go around the
Of
world.
course
He's
he will.
already been called the most sought-after manager in the world.
That's absolutely right. That's what I'm saying. But what is very interesting, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute, is that my favourite columnist in Fleet Street, Matthew Syed,
Oh, yeah.
right, may have seen this coming or expected it, because the headline on the piece that he's written today, which I'm going to read extracts from to you in a minute.
Are you?
It says
I
hiring.
can't wait. You're not going to read extracts from it, are you?
Hiring cultural vandal Mourinho would betray Ferguson's values and vision. My open letter to United Executive Vice Chairman Ed Woodward conveys simple message. He's saying that United would be mad.
So he's on Bobby Charlton's side.
He's on Bobby Charlton's side. He says that United would be mad to appoint Jose Mourinho. Frankly, I can't see they've got any alternative but to appoint Jose Mourinho.
Well, they've got to drag themselves back up to the point where they think they should be. Well, I mean, there may be other people out there, but...
Well, the other one mentioned is the Laurent Blanc, who's in charge of PSG.
Yeah, what about the guy at Atletico Madrid? Simeone.
Simeone. I think they're the only three, aren't they, that can fall into the frame. But of the three, who would you have? You'd have Jose Mourinho, without a shadow of a doubt.
Maybe he's slightly sort of tainted.
No, he's not.
After what
He's
happened
not.
at Chelsea.
No, rubbish.
As a manager, I'm not talking about his football skills. I'm talking about as a manager.
No.
I think he may be tainted. But we'll talk some more about this.
One blip in his career.
Well, that's not the only blip, actually. Winners and losers coming up a little bit later on, of course. This is TalkSport.
TalkSport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
TalkSport.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. We've got lots coming up. We're going to be talking to Ian Bishop very shortly. We'll find out what he makes of Pep Guardiola's appointment, which I suppose we can now call it an appointment because he is now appointed, right? He's taking over in the...
Oh, absolutely.
Is he taking over immediately after Pellegrini goes, or is he coming, at some point in the summer?
I don't know technically whether he started after Pellegrini leaves, and does Pellegrini leave after the very last game of the season? I don't know.
I think he does, yeah. There's a story on the back page of the Express saying that he might go to Stamford Bridge, Pellegrini.
Pellegrini might go to Stamford. Yeah, I suppose you can't rub that out. I mean, he's got plenty of international experience now in terms of European clubs. But the line I like is the one on the back of tomorrow's Daily Mail. It's the changing of the Guardiola. You know, Pep is new City boss on record 300k a week.
Right.
That's 15 million a year.
Right.
Pogba and Stones prime target and the £130 million move.
Yeah, Stones still a target.
Well, that's what it says here.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, it says £130 million move. But they've got the figures wrong here. They say they're going to pay $80 million for Paul Pogba and $50 million for Everton defender John Stones. It'll be the other way around.
No, it won't.
You will have to pay $80 million to get John Stones.
By the time the season ends, he might be worth even less than he is now.
Well, he's likely to be worth a lot more because I think, Everton can only improve now.
Yeah, but does he not need somebody to kind of tutor him, though? He needs to go to a different club, perhaps, where he's going to be taught properly.
I think there'll be a gear shift in the way Everton approach the rest of the season. I think there's got to be.
Yeah.
Just bought ourselves a new striker.
Yeah, what about this guy?
Well, all I know about him is that he's a Senegalese international. He's played for them 46 times. Yeah. He's Russia's leading scorer. This guy's called Umar
So there's
Niassa.
another Russian connection there.
Yeah, another Russian connection. That's absolutely right.
He didn't have anything to do with brokering the deal, did he?
Leading scorer in Russia. And
how do you pronounce his name?
Umar Niassa.
Niassi.
Yeah. And he's said to be, a red hot forward. Now, does that mean that Everton...
That's quite a lot of money for somebody that...
13.5 million.
13.5
well,
million.
you don't hear about a lot of players these days because it's international scouting and all that kind of stuff. But what is so interesting...
He's Everton's third most expensive signing.
Yeah, that's right. And I was going to say that, up till 2 years ago, we didn't have any money.
Right.
And the way the fortunes of football have changed is that since then, we spent £50 million on forwards. 28 for Lukaku.
So that's a pretty expensive strike force. Then.
Absolutely. 13 million for this guy. 9 million for Deulofeu, who I regard as a winger.
Deulofeu.
Yeah, Deulofeu. And of course, before that, Kone came, and he cost about 7, I think. So very expensive forward.
So where's all the
now.
money coming from? Just the TV money, is it?
It's TV money, and I suppose Everton's improved fortunes means that, sponsorship and all that in forward deals can be okay. But let me just get back to the Jose Mourinho thing, okay?
Yeah, go on.
I'm not going to read huge extracts of this, but what Matthew Syed says... Matthew Syed, by the way, is a man who was educated at Oxbridge, who was an international sportsman for this country in table tennis,
player,
as you know,
right.
and a highly
I
respected
didn't think you
writer.
regarded table tennis as much of a sport, though.
Well, I do if you've represented your country in it. I've got
But
respect.
when we spoke to him on the show,
yes,
just before New Year, in fact,
sure,
you kind of said to him rather snidely, I thought, that you don't exert much energy when you're playing table tennis.
No, I didn't.
You said it wasn't a very athletic sport.
No, I didn't say
you
that.
You did.
I didn't say
you
that.
did say that.
I couldn't have said that.
And he laughed, as I did.
I've played table tennis. I know how exhausting it is.
Were you in a team?
No, we didn't have a team.
I actually was in a table tennis team.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
City and East London College.
Oh, really? Yeah. The audience don't want to know about that.
You're not interested in any of
no,
my
I'm not really
achievements,
interested. No, I'm not. No, because
we used to play against all the
rubbish.
polytechnics of South London.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How'd you get on?
I held the pen grip I had, the Chinese pen grip.
The pen grip?
The pen grip, yeah.
Chinese pen grip?
Yeah. You don't know what I'm talking about,
The only thing you know about the Chinese pen grip is how to hold a pair of chopsticks, mate, to stuff all that food in your face that you eat constantly and have since you were a teenager.
I have eaten since I was a teenager, that's true.
Yes. Right. Now, it says here, Matthew Side, indeed, the more I've studied the Ferguson era, the clearer it has become that Sir Alex Ferguson was, above all, a cultural architect, partly because of his background in the dense social structure of the Govan shipyards, and partly due to a canny intelligence. He understood how to create a sustainable ethos. He was by no means perfect, and this column has often critiqued his excesses, but he was a visionary.
Well, let me just ask you about that phrase, sustainable ethos.
Yes.
Because the one thing that Manchester United has not been since he left is sustainable.
I totally agree.
Completely, the wheels have come off, they've hired the wrong managers, it's been a nightmare.
I totally agree. Matthew goes on to say, this is the last line I'll give you from here, but let's just now come to Mourinho. For his philosophy is rather different. His lackeys talk about how he creates a siege mentality. But what is this other than the constant insinuation that the world is against him? In the short term, this may indeed work, but in the long term, it collapses under the weight of its own juvenility. The players ultimately tire of his exhausting charade. His exhausting charade.
And if you look at his last two clubs, that was exactly what happened. Chelsea and Real Madrid, he left under a cloud in both instances.
Yeah, well, he's left most of his clubs under a cloud.
Well, I mean,
I think he left Milan under a cloud.
No, he says that he didn't leave Milan.
Yeah, well, he says he doesn't. That's right.
But I mean, certainly Real Madrid and Chelsea. Yeah. He left. There was huge rows going on. There was splits in the camp. People didn't like him. Other people loved him.
Sure.
I think he's damaged goods now.
Well, you say that, but I don't think he is. I think he's still the greatest man, not man motivator in the sense of Sir Alex Ferguson, putting his arm around people and all that. But he gets results. He's always had results, except for his last period at Chelsea.
Until this season.
Yeah, but that was only one season at Chelsea. In the first season, he won the Premier League.
Yeah, but it was a disaster.
Do you know what's the other interesting thing about this piece from Matthew? Everybody said, Sir Alex Ferguson, he was so lucky to inherit the class of 92. He didn't, actually. I mean, I remember reading this in one of his biographies. He went and recruited people like Nicky Butt by going to see their parents, knocking on their door, sitting down, have a cup of tea with them in the parlour and all that kind of stuff, watching them playing football. Yeah. When David Beckham arrived at Manchester United with his parents, age 15, only Sir Alex Ferguson knew it was the boy's birthday, so he had the chef
and he guided them from that age, didn't he? Personally.
Absolutely.
And people always said when he was at Old Trafford, he would go and watch the youth team training, watch
on
them
the Tuesday
playing.
nights and Wednesday nights and all this kind of stuff. And apparently, when David Beckham went to Spurs, it is alleged, and I know Terry pretty well, Terry Venables, that Terry sat in his office with his feet on the desk and talked to his mum and dad from afar and said, well, we'll give the lad a go and see what happens. And that the level...
They were won over by Sir Alex Ferguson.
Won over by Sir Alex Ferguson. Terry, who's a great international coach, by the way, didn't have the same philosophy as Sir Alex in the way he wanted to recruit young people, which is, that's up to him. But it was very, very interesting to see how much
but don't you have to just
he
take
recruited the class of 92 and didn't
but don't you
them.
just have to take the view that you're never going to get another Sir Alex Ferguson, so you might as well forget that
Yeah,
idea.
I think you're absolutely
right.
right.
You're not going to get somebody who's going to be at any club for
I think you're right.
25,
So are you saying then that the legacy of Sir Alex Ferguson now should be ignored in the appointment of their new manager?
I think the legacy actually doesn't exist because he left Manchester United in a pretty bad state. He didn't. He hadn't bought. He did. Yes, he did.
Well, he left them as league champions, Premier League champions.
Yes,
That's not a pretty bad state.
Yeah, but everybody said it was one of the worst teams that ever won the league.
Okay. Do you think the next season they'd have finished 5th, 6th, 7th?
Well, they did, didn't they?
No, but if he'd still been there.
No, probably not.
No, exactly.
Probably not.
So
but
of course he would. He'd have done things.
But he didn't provide any kind of building blocks for David Moyes. David Moyes came in and was pretty much mugged off by everybody.
He had no responsibility whatsoever to provide building blocks for the manager who was coming in.
Yeah, but he does if he's being praised as creating sustainability. If the sustainability isn't there, then he didn't create it.
I think you'll find that when you leave and you're handing the team over to somebody else, the guy who's taking over would almost certainly say, well, you can get rid of your blinking building blocks, pal. It's my show now.
Yeah, but you can't have it both ways.
I'm doing it my way.
Some people make that argument about Pep Guardiola. Guardiola went to Barcelona, and it wasn't really a very tough job because they were such a good team. He went to Bayern Munich; they were already great. Yep. So what does he now have to do with Manchester City? Because it might be the first big challenge that he's ever faced.
I've read a few, of the Fourth Estate, people like Steve Howard from the Sun and people like that who say we're not sure that Guardiola's qualified to work in the Premier League.
Haven't you?
What?
You've said that in the past, that, you know, he's not necessarily the saviour of football.
Well, I don't know enough about the highest level of coaching and the qualities needed for that to be able to make a judgment. All I know is we've seen Jose Mourinho at first hand in this country. We've seen Sir Alex Ferguson at first hand.
They've both been a success.
Yeah, we've seen Klopp at first hand. We've never seen Pep Guardiola at first hand in this country.
And I think
we've only ever seen him from afar.
But it'll be great. I mean, Klopp, funnily enough, has issued a warning to say that it's very, very much tougher in England in the Premier League than you will ever think it could be.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I'm saying. So,
also,
do we know?
If you think about, I mean, we talk about your other. I mean, I want to get into the Porky Jinx actually on this.
What Porky Jinx? There's no Porky Jinx.
The Porky Jinx was massively successful over the weekend, right? If you remember when you were doing your tennis commentary, when Serena Williams went through to the final, you said there can be no other result other than her winning, which was quite weird, right?
It's true.
You then tweeted out that Andy Murray was going to win against Djokovic.
Well, I thought he would.
You felt it in your bones.
Mind you, he got battered, didn't he? Massacred, I would
He did.
say.
Well, the first set, I think, just kind of
terrible.
Just finished him off.
Terrible, yeah.
But then, of course, your other great success story, Gary Neville down in Valencia, it's not going too well, is it?
Well,
so you've jinxed him as well.
Well, you know,
you said he was going to be a great manager.
Why do you think Terry Sheringham's got the boot from Stevenage? By the
way?
I
think they've had the worst run of luck and games in the history of Stevenage.
They are 3 points from the last 24 available. Stevenage chairman Phil Wallace said he's given it his all, but it hasn't worked. Darren Saar will take over as caretaker manager of the table. Of course, I went to Stevenage. That's where I took a penalty.
You did take a penalty there,
on the pitch there. Yeah.
Did you score that one? Oh, no, that was one you had to put through a hoop.
It's very, very difficult.
So that was Teddy Sheringham's first.
Somebody said, by the way, earlier on,
management, wasn't it?
Was it you that you think John Terry will stay at Chelsea?
No, I think it was Jason Cundy.
Jason Cundy, okay, yeah. Well, he should know. I mean, he has connections with Chelsea.
I don't think he's going to stay at Chelsea.
No, I don't think he will either. Do you know why? I think the insult that's been heaped upon him is just too great.
Yeah.
I mean, John Terry's a very proud man, and of course he's made mistakes on and off the pitch in the past, but you cannot doubt his commitment, his passion, and his dedication to Chelsea. And then to turn round and smack him in the face.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to move
on.
Say,
there's the exit.
No, sometimes you have to move on. I don't think he wouldn't start every game if he stayed another season, because he's kind of past it now.
Well,
I don't think that's...
They don't look after their legends very well at Chelsea, do they, when you look at it? You know, the way Frank Lampard was shuffled off very unhappily.
Peter Cech off to Arsenal.
Peter Cech very unhappily.
Yeah.
John Terry now very unhappily. You know, Joe Cole, he was part of that great team, and there's rather a dilettante attitude to whether
it must be their policy.
They wanted him to stay or not. Yeah.
Anyway, have you seen the time?
Yeah, I've seen the time. Have you seen the time?
It's getting very late.
Well, you keep asking me if I've seen the time. There's a big clock in the studio. Just to remind
why don't
everybody.
you pay attention to it once in a while?
I do pay attention to it. It's just that, you know, the audience like to get to the bottom of these things, and it's me who's who's
trying to get to the bottom.
No, it's me who's got the grit of the argument.
Is that right?
Yeah.
True Grit was on the other day, actually.
Was it?
Yeah, the John Wayne film. Anyway, I've got loads of tweets to read out, which I'd like to do before you launch yourself at some other subject.
Yeah.
Absolute nonsense for 10 minutes. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in a little while, Ian Bishop's going to join us, former Everton, West Ham and Manchester City midfielder, of course. Also, it says here, native Scouser.
Native Scouser, yeah, that's right.
That's all right to call him that, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, yeah, unlike myself.
Yes, indeed, unlike yourself.
Yeah.
But let's read out a few tweets.
Yeah,
we've got some here.
Yes, please.
Here's one from James. This is the best start to the Two Mics show this year. Porky ranting about MG not saying hello to Porky.
Yeah.
And the FA Cup.
Yes.
D says, someone tell Porky to calm down and pace himself. 12 minutes in and he's foaming at the mouth.
No, I'm not foaming at the mouth. I just believe in manners, you know. Manners maketh man. Did you know that?
You do believe in manners, yeah, but you're not normally very mannerly to me. How about this one from Mal? A 3-hour car trip with Porky? No thanks. I would rather stand on my head in a septic tank and have a better chat.
What?
He's suggesting I don't go down to Bournemouth in a car with you.
Oh, I see, right. Yeah, well, you know, that's entirely up to you, pal. You know, I mean, the point is offer you these opportunities.
I might quite enjoy it, actually.
Yeah, well, you might enjoy it, but as long as you behave yourself, you know, get bladderated and...
That's not the sort of thing I would do.
Set fire to my sister's home with your 40 fags a day.
That would not be a good result.
Yeah,
well, of course, I wouldn't smoke in the house.
No.
Of course, I would go outside and smoke.
Oh, how nice of you. Good of you.
I would ask, perhaps, for an ashtray.
I don't think she'd let you smoke in her road, actually, but anyway.
In her road?
Yeah, I doubt it, yeah.
Really?
Nobody else in the road smokes.
Why not?
Well, they just don't.
How do you know? There might be people who smoke in their own home.
Well,
it's not illegal to do that.
Yeah, down there they regard smokers as of the peasant class, to be honest. And
they're all like jumped-up snobs down there, aren't they?
No. They're high achievers.
Are they?
They're high achievers. That's what you mistake jumped-up snobs for high achievers.
No, I don't.
Because you've never mixed with high achievers.
No, I've mixed with high achievers all my life.
You've always been envious.
I've had to climb several rungs down the ladder to hang around with you.
I don't think so. I don't think so, my friend. If we forensically looked at progress.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
My friend.
If we forensically looked at the progress of each of our lives, I think you'll find that there are the more interesting path to glory.
Yeah.
And
how long
satisfaction has been mine.
How long did you stay at the glorious point of high achievement then?
I think I'm still there.
Well, where was the pinnacle of it? Would you say
the pinnacle?
Was it Fleet Street? Was it the FA?
Well, it's difficult to decide. Really, there's been so much of it.
That's what I mean.
You've got to remember
peaks and troughs.
I've succeeded in at least 3 careers.
Yeah, but
you've never had.
But you've been unsuccessful in about 8 more.
No, rubbish. What
do you mean you've been successful in 3 careers?
I conquered Fleet Street, the newspaper world.
Right.
I conquered broadcasting, the broadcasting world.
Okay, all right, I'd go along with that.
Okay.
And what's the third one?
I conquered the PR world when
you ran the FA.
When I ran the
office.
FA, Director of Communications at the FA.
Well, I mean, some people might have a different view of that. But
that's entirely up to them. So, I don't need a lecture from you on how these things work. Now,
I'm not lecturing you. Let me read you this from Pete. He says, no surprise, old Porky was wrong about Pep Guardiola and MG was right again.
What do you mean I was wrong?
You were wrong. You said he would go to Man United.
I said he should go to Manchester United. I didn't say he was going to, but I tell you, the guy who's, to my mind, on such a losing curve now is Remy Gard at Aston Villa.
Have you seen that story that says he may jump ship at the end of the season?
Exactly.
I mean, would anybody care?
No, nobody would care.
There'll be a whole queue of people lining up to push him.
But not only that, what I'm saying is, when you look at his position, and he's the manager of Aston Villa, right, what is absolutely astonishing is that he's supposed to have had this fantastic, clear the air meeting with Randy Lerner when he took the job and what we done there. Right. And Randy Lerner thinks so much of him, he advanced him exactly nothing. In the January transfer window.
Well, I think he's accepted they're going down. I mean, I think Randy Lerner's gone, why spend a bunch of money when we're going to go down anyway?
But I mean, I just don't get it. If Remy Gard was the solution, he was appointed 6 weeks before the January window, surely he must have come in on the basis, well, look, Randy, you give me 50 million quid.
Here's a shopping list.
Give me 50 million quid in the transfer window and I can save us from going down.
Well, maybe they said to him, well, as long as you win a couple of games, we might give you some money. But he hasn't managed to quite achieve that,
I just think it's incredible, honestly. What a ridiculous situation.
But is he not? I mean, I must say, I gave you a hard time when he first arrived because you were sceptical about his talents.
Yeah,
and you said, he's just another kind of, fancy-sounding name being brought in because he's meant to be a bit more sophisticated. But actually, he's been a complete disaster.
A complete disaster.
So I have to say I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. And,
sorry about that.
But I mean, when he says that, reconsider my position, I would consider your position, Remy, because your chairman has insulted you.
Yeah.
He said that you're not capable of wisely spending a penny of his money.
But hasn't he come from a league where the money, say, for example, unless you're playing for Paris Saint-Germain, the money is nothing like the money he's getting here. So is he not the sort of a good example of what's going to happen in the future? All these managers are going to come and work here for a while, maybe be unsuccessful, and go back, but leave with a big bag of money.
Maybe. I mean, you're right in one sense, but in the other sense, when you come, you have to adapt to the fact that you will have lots of money to spend because of the incredible
but he hasn't
TV
had to,
deal
has
in
he?
this country.
But he hasn't had to because he hasn't had any money.
No, he hasn't had any.
So for him, it's been an easy transition, actually.
But I mean, you can see where he's come from.
But there are people in this world, are they not? And I suspect you're not one of them, where they would go, regardless of whether they've got any chance of success, to a big paying job because they know that they'll be able to make X amount of money, whether they stay in it for a year or longer or whatever, but they're just going to pick up a load of money and they do it anyway. They don't care if it works.
Yeah, but the problem is, what he's done is he's completely shattered any reputation he had by going to Villa and being useless. He can't win a game.
But maybe not in France, though. Maybe go back to France and he'll still be like a visionary or something.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he'd never get appointed to PSG now, would he?
No.
Not under any circumstances.
So.
And in France, unless you're appointed to PSG, it's not worth being appointed anywhere else.
Well, he was working at Lyon, wasn't he?
Lyon, that's not bad. Marseille's pretty good. Monaco, those sort of places. But I mean, Saint-Etienne. But when you look at the table and you see that PSG are 21 points ahead at the top, nobody else is going to get a look in France in the next 2 decades.
Have you got anything from France in the winners and losers this week?
France?
Because you had France in it last week, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be telling you what I've got my winners and
Really?
losers. No. I've got outstanding candidates in both categories, so I don't really.
I've got a new strategy actually.
Oh, have you?
But I can't tell you what it is.
Oh no, I don't want to hear it. Thank you. I don't want to hear it.
How about this from Becky? She says Everton spent 50 million on forwards. The way they keep conceding goals, i.e. 3-3 draws, best spend the money on defenders.
So why is Pep Guardiola then talking about spending £50 million on John Stones?
Well, I've no idea.
Yeah, one of the outstanding young defenders, not just in Europe but in the world.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope that he continues on the upward path rather than making so many mistakes that in the end he languishes where he is. How about this from Adam? Do you think there's any truth?
Surmise.
Well, he might do. People get sort of interested for 5 minutes, and then when they see that there's mistakes being made, they don't go after him. Do you think there's any truth in the theory that Fergie could return to manage United?
No.
That's a question for you.
No, absolutely impossible.
I don't think he'd want to do it.
A, he wouldn't want to. B, Manchester United would be mad to allow him to, because that would just show that they've run out of ideas altogether.
Right.
And C, how do you take Manchester United forward if you go 10 years backwards? That's idiotic.
Here's a Man United fan who's obviously now jumped on the Porky Jose Mourinho bandwagon.
Yes.
He sent me a picture of Jose Mourinho's record and said, how can that be tainted goods? Look at what he's won. But the point about the tainted goods thing is not about his football skills, it's about his management skills, and you might not want somebody who's kind of toxic in the organisation.
And his persona in the football world.
Exactly.
Now, I've got two here which relate to our possible journey down to Bournemouth in 3 weeks' time, OK?
Right.
The first one from D says, Porky's a 10-bob millionaire claiming no one smokes on his sister's street. Well, I'm not a millionaire, so, I don't know.
Well, you're not far off it. But the point, you can't possibly know whether anybody smokes on her street. Can you?
I've never seen anybody smoking on her street.
Well, you probably haven't ever seen anybody walking on her street, have you?
Yeah, occasionally.
Really?
Yeah.
What, walking dogs and things?
Yes, that's right. That sort of thing.
Well,
yeah,
it's
but
not
I've
a
never
busy
seen
street,
smoking.
though. I mean, it sounds to me like a fairly
It's
quiet
a suburban
residential street.
Quiet suburban street,
So
you're
you wouldn't see people walking around smoking.
Anyway, the other one says, MG...
What happens if you want a cigarette, by the way?
I don't smoke.
Yeah, you do.
I don't.
Well, you occasionally
I've never smoked in my sister's company in my life.
She doesn't think you smoke, presumably. She would probably go mad if she thought you smoked.
This one here from Brian says, MG, old Porky seems to be in a very generous mood. Be careful, he might be up to something.
That's true.
So that's me, talking about extending my family's facilities to yourself.
Yes, I mean, you've taken me slightly by surprise with that offer, actually.
Yeah?
Are you sure you're in a position to make it?
Well, not really. I haven't spoken to my sister, and she's rather special,
Yeah, no, she may have a view on me visiting your establishment.
Well, we'll have to see. Now then, what I was going to say is that...
why are you repeating everything in a strange voice?
I don't know, but the guy Woodenhead wants to know why Jurgen Klopp hasn't signed a striker for Liverpool. Clearly they need one. I would say that's probably because there isn't one available, to be honest.
There probably isn't, and also he may not have that much money to spend either.
No, well, that's absolutely true.
Because the American owners are not that keen on handing money, just for the sake of it, are they?
Yeah, very interesting one here from a guy who's clearly a big Celtic fan because his handle is Lisbon, right? We all know what happened in Lisbon. That's where
You sure he's
Celtic...
not Portuguese?
No, that's where Celtic became... Well, he might live in Lisbon. Some of them never came back,
Lisbon Lions.
Yeah, about 400 Celtic fans never came back. They all ended up as taxi drivers in Lisbon. But anyway, he says, Jock Stein taught Ferguson everything about football politics, and what's more, he even taught him how to cook. How about that?
Well, there you are. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Interesting facts. We got loads more to do. Ian Bishop's coming up next. We've got winners and losers as well. And we're going to talk about disaster preparing as well, because there might be a disaster coming up very soon.
Oh, really?
Here on this show. This is Talk Sport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in a little while, Ian Bishop's going to join us, former Everton, West Ham and Manchester City midfielder, of course. Also, it says here, native Scouser.
Native Scouser, yeah, that's right.
That's all right to call him that, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah, unlike myself.
Yes, indeed, unlike yourself.
Yeah.
But let's read out a few tweets.
Yeah,
we've got some here.
Yes, please.
Here's one from James. It's the best start to the two mics show this year. Porky ranting about MG, not saying hello to Porky.
Yeah.
And the FA Cup.
Yes.
D says, someone tell Porky to calm down and pace himself. 12 minutes in and he's foaming at the mouth.
No, I'm not foaming at the mouth. I just believe in manners, Manners maketh man. Did you know that?
You do believe in manners, but you're not normally very mannerly to me. How about this one from Mal? A 3-hour car trip with Porky? No thanks. I would rather stand on my head in a septic tank and have a better chat.
What?
He's suggesting I don't go down to Bournemouth in a car with you.
Oh, I see, right. Yeah, well, that's entirely up to you, pal. I mean, the point is offer you these opportunities.
I might quite enjoy it, actually.
Yeah, well, you might enjoy it, but as long as you behave yourself, get bladderated and...
That's not the sort of thing I would do.
Set fire to my sister's home with your
that would not be a
good
result. Well, of course, I wouldn't smoke in the house.
No.
Of course, I would go outside and smoke.
Oh, nice of you. Good of you.
I would ask perhaps for an ashtray.
I don't think she'd let you smoke in her road, actually, but anyway.
In her road?
Yeah, I doubt it, yeah.
Really?
Nobody else in the road smokes.
Why not?
Well, they just don't.
How do you know? There might be people who smoke in their own home.
Well,
it's not illegal to do that.
Yeah, down there they regard smokers as of the peasant class, to be honest. And
they're all like jumped up snobs down there, aren't they?
No. They're high achievers.
Are they?
They're high achievers. That's what you mistake jumped up snobs for high achievers.
No, I don't.
Because you've never mixed with high achievers.
No, I've mixed with high achievers all my life.
You've always been envious.
I've had to climb several rungs down the ladder to hang around with you.
I don't think so. I don't think so, my friend. If we forensically looked at the progress.
That's the new one.
Yeah.
My friend.
If we forensically looked at the progress of each of our lives, I think you'll find that the rather more interesting path to glory and self-satisfaction has been mine.
How long did you stay at the glorious point of high achievement then?
I think I'm still there.
Well, where was the pinnacle of it, would you say?
The pinnacle?
Was it Fleet Street? Was it, the FA?
Well, it's difficult to decide, really. There's been so much of it.
That's what I mean.
You've got to remember
peaks and troughs.
I've succeeded in at least 3 careers.
Yeah, but
you've never had.
But you've been unsuccessful in about 8 more.
No, rubbish.
What do you mean you've been successful in 3 careers?
I conquered Fleet Street, the newspaper world.
Right.
I conquered broadcasting, the broadcasting world.
Okay, all right, I'd go along with that.
Okay.
And what's the third one?
I conquered the PR world when
you ran the FA.
When I ran the
office.
FA, about Director of Communications at the FA.
Well, I mean, some people might have a different view of that. But
that's entirely up to them. So, I don't need a lecture from you on how these things work.
I'm not lecturing you. Let me read you this from Pete. He says, no surprise, old Porky was wrong about Pep Guardiola and MG was right again.
What do you mean I was wrong?
You were wrong. You said he would go to Man United.
I said he should go to Manchester United. I didn't say he was going to, but he should. I tell you, the guy who's, to my mind, on such a losing curve now is Remy Gard at Aston Villa.
Have you seen that story that says he may jump ship at the end of the season?
Exactly.
I mean, would anybody care?
No, nobody would care.
There'll be a whole queue of people lining up to push him.
But not only that, what I'm saying is, when you look at his position and he's manager of Aston Villa, right, what is absolutely astonishing is that he's supposed to have had this fantastic, clear the air meeting with Randy Lerner when he took the job and what we don't know. Right. And Randy Lerner thinks so much of him, he advanced him exactly nothing. In the January transfer window.
Well, I think he's accepted they're going down. I mean, I think Randy Lerner's gone, why spend a bunch of money when we're going to go down anyway?
But I mean, I just don't get it. If Remy Gard was the solution, he was appointed 6 weeks before the January window, surely he must have come in on the basis, well, look, Randy, you give me 50 million quid.
Here's a shopping list.
Give me 50 million quid in the transfer window and I can save us from going down.
But maybe they said to him, well, as long as you win a couple of games, we might give you some money. But he hasn't managed to quite achieve that, has he?
I just think it's incredible, honestly. What a ridiculous situation.
I mean, I must say, I gave you a hard time when he first arrived because you were sceptical about his talents.
Yeah,
and you said, he's just another kind of, fancy-sounding name being brought in because he's meant to be a bit more sophisticated. But actually, he's been a complete disaster.
A complete disaster.
So I have to say I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. And,
sorry about that.
But, I mean, when he says, reconsider my position, I would consider your position, Remy, because your chairman has insulted you.
Yeah.
He said that you're not capable of wisely spending a penny of his money.
But hasn't he come from a league where the money, say, for example, unless you're playing for Paris Saint-Germain, the money is nothing like the money he's getting here? So is he not the sort of a good example of what's going to happen in the future? All these managers are going to come and work here for a while, maybe be unsuccessful, and go back, but leave with a big bag of money.
Maybe. I mean, you're right in one sense, but in the other sense, when you come, you have to adapt to the fact that you will have lots of money to spend because of the incredible
but he hasn't had to,
in this country.
But he hasn't had to because he hasn't had any money.
No, he hasn't had any.
So for him, it's been an easy transition, actually.
But I mean, you can see where he's come from.
But there are people in this world, are they not? And I suspect you're not one of them.
Yes.
Where they would go, regardless of whether they've got any chance of success, to a big paying job because they know that they'll be able to make X amount of money, whether they stay in it for a year or longer or whatever. But they're just going to pick up a load of money and they do it anyway. They don't care if it works.
Yeah, but the problem is what he's done is he's completely shattered any reputation he had by going to Villa and being useless. He can't win a game.
But maybe not in France, though. Maybe go back to France and he'll still be like a visionary or something.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he'd never get appointed to PSG now, would he?
No.
Not under any circumstances. So. And in France, unless you're appointed to to PSG, it's not worth being appointed anywhere else.
Well, he was working at Lyon, wasn't he?
He was working at Lyon, that's not bad. Marseille's pretty good. Monaco, those sort of places. But I mean, Saint Etienne. But when you look at the table and you see that PSG are 21 points ahead at the top, nobody else is going to get a look in France in the next 2 decades.
Have you got anything from France in the winners and losers this week?
France?
Because you had France in it last week, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be telling you what I've got in my winners and losers. No. I've got outstanding candidates in both categories. I've got a new strategy actually. Oh, have you?
But I can't tell you what it is.
Oh no, I don't want to hear it. Thank you. I don't want to hear it.
How about this from Becky? She says Everton spent 50 million on forwards. The way they keep conceding goals, i.e., 3-3 draws, best spend the money on defenders.
So why is Pep Guardiola then talking about spending £50 million on John Stones?
Well, I've no idea.
Yeah. One of the outstanding young defenders, not just in Europe but in the world.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope that he continues on the upward path rather than making so many mistakes that in the end he languishes where he is. How about this from Adam? Do you think there's any truth?
Surmise.
Well, he might do. People get sort of interested for 5 minutes, and then when they see that there's mistakes being made, they don't go after him. Do you think there's any truth in the theory that Fergie could return to manage United?
No.
That's a question for you.
No, absolutely impossible.
I don't think he'd want to.
A, he wouldn't want to. B, Manchester United would be mad to allow him to, because that would just show that they've run out of ideas altogether.
Right.
And C, how do you take Manchester United forward if you go 10 years backwards? That's idiotic.
Here's a Man United fan who's obviously now jumped on the Porky Jose Mourinho bandwagon.
Yes.
He sent me a picture of Jose Mourinho's record and said, how can that be tainted goods? Look at what he's won. But the point about the tainted goods thing is not about his football skills, it's about his management skills, and you might not want somebody who's kind of toxic in the organisation.
And his persona in the football world.
Exactly.
Now, I've got two here which relate to our possible journey down to Bournemouth in 3 weeks' time, OK?
Right.
The first one from D says, Porky's a 10-bob millionaire claiming no one smokes on his sister's street. Well, I'm not a millionaire, so, I don't know.
Well, you're not far off it. But the point is, you can't possibly know whether anybody smokes on her street. Can you?
I've never seen anybody smoking on her street.
Well, you probably haven't ever seen anybody walking on her street, have you?
Yeah, occasionally.
Really?
Yeah.
What, walking dogs and things?
Yes, that's right. That sort of thing.
Well,
yeah,
it's
but
not
I've
a
never
busy
seen
street,
smoking.
though. I mean, it sounds to me like a fairly
It's
quiet
a suburban
residential street.
Quiet suburban street,
you
you're right.
You wouldn't see people walking around smoking.
Anyway, the other one says, MG...
What happens if you want a cigarette, by the way?
I don't smoke.
Yeah, you do.
I don't.
Well, you occasionally
I've
ask me
never
for one.
smoked in my sister's company in my life.
She doesn't think you smoke, presumably. She would probably go mad if she thought you smoked.
This one here from Brian says, MG, old Porky seems to be in a very generous mood. Be careful, he might be up to something.
That's true.
So that's me, talking about extending my family's facilities to yourself.
Yes, I mean, you've taken me slightly by surprise with that offer, actually.
Yeah,
Are you sure you're in a position to make it?
Well, not really. I haven't spoken to my sister. And she's rather special,
Yeah, no, she may have a view on me visiting your establishment.
Well, we'll have to see. Now then, what I was going to say is that...
why are you repeating everything in a strange voice?
I don't know, but the guy Woodenhead wants to know why Jurgen Klopp hasn't signed a striker for Liverpool. Clearly they need one. I would say that's probably because there isn't one available, to be honest.
There probably isn't, and also he may not have that much money to spend either.
No, well, that's absolutely true.
Because the American owners are not that keen on handing money, just for the sake of it, are they?
Yeah, very interesting one here from a guy who's clearly a big Celtic fan because his handle is Lisbon, right? We all know what happened in Lisbon. That's where
You sure he's
Celtic...
not Portuguese?
No, that's where Celtic became... Well, he might live in Lisbon, and some of them never came back,
Lisbon Lions.
Yeah, about 400 Celtic fans never came back. They all ended up as taxi drivers in Lisbon. But anyway, he says, Jock Stein taught Ferguson everything about football politics, and what's more, he even taught him how to cook. How about that?
Well, there you are. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Interesting facts. We've got loads more to do. Ian Bishop's coming up next. We've got winners and losers as well. And we're going to talk about disaster preparing as well, because there might be a disaster coming up very soon.
Oh, really?
Here on this show. This is Talk Sport.
Don't phone your mother. Phone Talk Sport.
Football on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Atletico Radio.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a bit later on this morning. We've got another edition of Winners and Losers coming up. It's fast becoming the most controversial competition on Talk Sport, by the way.
Well, only because, you know...
There's always a battle over it.
No, you manipulate it so...
I can't. It's beyond my...
So ruthlessly.
It's beyond my ken to do that.
You think it's an indication of the intelligentsia level of myself and yourself.
Not true. No, I don't.
You always regard yourself as...
No, it's a popularity contest.
You're always trying to tell people you're more intelligent than me.
I've never said that. I've never said that.
And you can't bear me to outwit you on a regular basis, as I always do.
Exactly.
Because you're a dumbcock compared to me when it comes to intelligence.
I've never cast aspersions on your levels of intelligence.
Yeah, well, you better not, mate, because I tell you what, one of these days I'll hit you with an intelligentsia mental bomb, which will wreck your mind.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, my only criticism of your Porky tribe types is that they all tend to be a little bit on the moronic side, and they just vote for you without even thinking.
How can you possibly say that?
Because I've seen some of the Twitter accounts they've set up.
You're insulting.
They've set up fake Twitter accounts to vote for you.
Insulting millions.
No, I'm not.
Literally millions
I'm insulting about 10
listeners.
People. No, I'm insulting about 10
calling them
people.
Thickheads and morons. It's disgusting.
Well, you should have a look at what they're doing.
Off the station,
you should have a look at what they and those porn stars that you seem to have become friendly with are doing in your name.
I haven't got any porn stars.
Well, they were all holding up signs last week.
It's not my fault if I so stimulate the intelligence of so many different groups of people in society that they go around holding up placards saying "Vote Porky, vote off."
I know.
That is not my fault.
Anyway, listen, we're keeping Ian Bishop waiting, which is very rude. And you said that we shouldn't be rude anymore. Ian, a very good morning to you.
How are you, fellas? Don't worry about leaving me waiting. You're very entertaining.
That's
we can't argue all night, obviously. But what do you make of Pep Guardiola coming to the Premier League?
Signing of the century, mate.
For who?
Well, Manchester City, obviously.
Yeah, but
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, but you shadowed
everything, mate, hasn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, Ian, you're a football man. Is there any evidence that Pep Guardiola can do it in an environment where it's not already been done for him? You know exactly what I'm saying. He played for Barcelona, then inherited that team. He went to Bayern Munich, who were an outstanding European team. Manchester City are a good team, but they're not a European leader.
Well, not as yet, and I think that's probably why he's been brought in,
Yes.
I think, obviously, they're still fighting on all fronts in England, and Pellegrini has come out, to me, with a bit of dignity, but I'm also thinking about how much of it is, when did Pep come out with his statement that he was leaving Bayern?
Yeah.
And then is it more to say now with Pellegrini, because it's him that's brought the news out, that, look, they're doing it to me now, and I'm still in all four competitions. So maybe it's saving a little bit of face also. But I think Pep, you've still got to go there. I know he's been given top squads and that, but you've still got to go there and make them play. I mean, you've seen it with.
And he's got to make them get on with each other as well, which is maybe tougher.
Definitely, but what you'll also find, you'll find a divide as well. I mean, everybody's going to be fighting for the playing lives at Man City now. Not one of them will want to leave, but some of them will doubt themselves now. And it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow in the dressing room, when they're sitting there with a manager who they know isn't going to be there.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how does that sort of have an effect on players? Because, the season's still got a long way to go, and they're going to be looking at Pellegrini, presumably, as, sort of dead man walking, and they're going to presumably try and impress Guardiola before he gets there. But Guardiola's sort of MO is that he comes into a club and he kind of cleans it out. He gets rid of a lot of people.
Well, that's always going to happen, isn't it? He's going to want to make room for the people he wants to bring in. It all depends on how much money he gets given, and the calibre of player he wants to bring in is not going to be cheap, is it? So, he's not going to just sign nobody. He's going to attract some of the biggest players in the world to come to Man City. I'm excited about it.
And I think it's like the next stage for Manchester City, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, look, the club's changed dramatically in the last few years, and I think Pep is a little bit more rock and roll, as we say, isn't he?
Yeah.
Than Pellegrini is.
Yeah.
And I think it's the excitement.
Porky Parry's more rock and roll than Pellegrini, I think.
Don't be ridiculous. But Ian, you're absolutely right. If you're going to be the manager of one of the stellar clubs, not just of Europe, but of the world, you've got to have a very exciting character as well. You've got to be like a Jose Mourinho. You've got to be like a a Louis van Gaal, who is, not the greatest manager of Manchester United, but he's not half prominent in terms of what he says and what he talks about. And Mr. Pellegrini was never that. Ian, do you think that the appointment of Pep Guardiola at Manchester City means inevitably Jose Mourinho will now be appointed Manchester United manager?
I would like to see it. I honestly would.
So would I.
think Jose's good for the game as well. Yeah, and if you imagine that rivalry across Manchester now, if he does come in there, it'll be amazing, mate.
That would be amazing. But interestingly enough about Guardiola, you mentioned him in sort of same breath as Mourinho and Ferguson and people like that. I mean, he's quite a quiet guy, isn't he? He's not a guy that sort of, stands out and makes a lot of big statements.
Yeah, but I think his difference is because he's so young and so lean in his fit. He looks like a ghost, doesn't he?
He looks like he could still be a player.
Yeah, he could still be a player. I
he looks
totally
like
agree.
Still play,
Yeah, and but also where he succeeds is that he does all his talking through his coaching, if you see what I mean. Every team that he's taken charge of has, even now Bayern Munich could still be European champions this season, couldn't they? So I think his track record is based purely on his results and success, not what he has to say in press conferences afterwards.
Yeah, look, it's just created a bit of a weird scenario, hasn't it? Man City have got probably the best chance that they've had in the Champions League with the draw that they've got in the last 16. Yes. Imagine Pep going out winning the Champions League, Pellegrini going out winning the Premier League. It's a bit of a weird situation.
Well, it happened to Jupp Heynckes, didn't it, at Bayern Munich when he won the treble, and then they gave the job to Guardiola.
That's right.
Yeah, well, it looks like both managers will be going away and leaving with trophies,
Right.
It just goes to show that, especially in Pellegrini's case, even if you do win things, you're still not safe. I think this will be Pep's biggest test.
I think it will be as
with
well.
the clubs he's been at.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about this Everton signing from Lokomotiv Moscow, Ian? I don't know whether you've...
I'll tell you what. No. I'll tell you what, Mike, I've been trying to read up on him, but I didn't want to kid anybody by pretending I knew something.
No, well, look...
Well, this is what I was saying. If you haven't heard of him either, it's 13.5 million quid. It's a lot of money, isn't it, for somebody nobody's ever heard of?
Hang on. He's the leading scorer in the Russian league, okay? And that's a big league, and there's a lot of good players there. He's played for Senegal, which is Patrick Vieira's country, right?
Senegal.
Yeah, Senegal, 46 times. He's been subject to bids from 4 British clubs, right? I'm sure of that. So,
which clubs has he been subject to bids from?
Newcastle were after him. Liverpool had a look at him, and I think Manchester United did as well.
Right.
And so all I'm saying is the only way you can gauge it these days, Ian, is not necessarily on what do we know about this boy, but what does the football world know about him? And that's the only way you get players for this sort of price these days. If he was any more popular, if he was any more well-known, it'd cost double the price. So it's a smart move, in my view.
But you don't know whether he's any good,
I think,
I do.
No, well, I think as far as Everton fans are concerned, which we are, it's another forward. It's taking a little bit of weight off Lukaku, isn't it? And I think it's a positive step by the club. Positive step, and they've shown that they will dip into the pockets and spend that sort of money. So I'm sure they've had them assessed, they've had them watched. Yeah. They'll have been tracking them for quite a while. And like you said, that Russian league isn't easy, is it? They always come out and give a good account of themselves.
And you have to say to yourself, in the world of modern football, every club is a selling club. And if Everton got a ridiculous offer for Lukaku, bearing in mind that forwards are at an absolute premium, then they may have felt that the Umar Niasse they've signed today might be good enough to fill Lukaku's shoes if they decide that they're going to do business.
Is it Niasse or Niasse?
Niasse.
Right. You're two picking holes at each other.
No.
Well, we just like to try and get the pronunciations right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, what about this whole January transfer window, though? Because it was a pretty boring transfer window. I know Everton managed to get a player, Stoke managed to get a player right at the end, but would it do any harm at all if they just did away with it and said, do all your business in the summer and we're not going to have another window in January?
Yeah, I think it's strange, isn't it? Coming halfway through the season, it's disruptive.
Or just don't have a window.
And if you look,
well, most of the decent players aren't available, are they?
No, it makes a farce of contracts, really, doesn't it? You sign a 3-year deal or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden somebody throws the right amount of money at you in January, and you're gone.
Yeah,
and your plans are all. Even the window early on. It's a week after the season starts or something when it closes, and you've made your plans in the summer, and you've got your squad together, and all of a sudden you lose a couple of players. It doesn't seem like there's a good time for any of it.
Yeah, it seems to me they should overhaul the whole thing. Yeah. Ian, listen, thanks very much indeed. Lovely to talk to you as ever. Ian Bishop there, looking at Pep Guardiola's appointment and the Everton signing as well. But I mean, I'm just looking at the list of moves completed on the final day of the January transfer window. Ginelli Mbula is the guy that's gone from Porto to Stoke City. Umar Niassi, as you say, from Lokomotiv Leipzig. Abdullahi Bukhari, Rennes to Watford for an undisclosed fee. Adalberto Penaranda, Granada to Watford for an undisclosed fee. Seydou Doumbia, Roma to Newcastle United. Eder, Swansea City to Lille on loan. Alex Pritchard, Tottenham Hotspur to West Bromwich Albion on loan. I mean, the list goes on. But I don't really, I have to say, recognise any of those names in a big way.
There's only two. I mean, until Stoke scored their lad from Porto, was it? They scored.
Porto,
which was late on. Everton's forward was the biggest signing of the day.
Yeah, it was, So they pipped that record forward.
Exactly,
Anyway, look into Light for a moment. We've got a lot of other things to do.
We certainly have.
Lots of other things.
The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes. We're keeping you entertained throughout the night. We've already dissed the January transfer window. I think it might as well be done away with and make all the business be done in the summer. We'll be talking about Pep Guardiola a little bit more. We're talking about disaster planning as well, because the weather in this country is getting worse and worse and worse, and I think we're going to have to start getting serious about it. Also, of course, it's winners and losers coming up. It's TalkSport's most controversial competition now, and we'll try and ensure it's gerrymandering free, if we can. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. Got a text here from Derek in Hampstead. He says, Dear Two Mikes, earlier in the show you played a short piece of a song by the band Madness. Are you aware that Madness have never won a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Brits? Can you think of a more deserving band who have never won it? Well, there's probably loads of bands who have never won that. I'm not really a big fan of Lifetime Achievement Awards, to be honest.
No, neither am I.
I mean, what does it mean? Does it mean that you're now at the end? You're either at the end of your career, or they just want to recognise you for something that you've done?
Well, no, what it means is that usually it's a sympathy vote because, you've been around a long time, you haven't won anything individually, give them a Lifetime Achievement Award, you know what I mean?
The Oscars give one out, don't they, for people who've never won an Oscar?
Exactly. Yeah. Who got one recently? It was...
was it Scorsese or something like that?
Scorsese, or was it...
it was Spielberg, wasn't it?
Spielberg? No, Spielberg's won loads of Oscars, hasn't he?
But he hasn't won as many as you might expect.
Yeah, but he's won quite a few. No, it was some actor, I'm trying to remember who he was now, some guy's been around forever. Somebody like Kirk Douglas or something like that.
Douglas.
He didn't win an Oscar, did he?
Well, he probably did.
No. What, for Spartacus?
I don't know.
I'm Spartacus.
Yeah.
I'm Spartacus.
Yeah, we're all Spartacus.
I'm Spartacus. Yeah, I don't think he's...
Is that going to be in Porky Vision this week?
No, I don't think so.
Here's another view of Mr. Guardiola from David. He says, Guardiola becoming the new manager of Manchester City is all well and good. However, all it does is tighten the grip on the Premier League title by the cosy cartel of City, Man United and Chelsea. Despite the 100 million TV deal, Sheikh Mansour will be dipping into his billions to fund new signings and multi-million pound wage deals. Is Guardiola that good? He just follows the money like Jose and does what's expected. Well, I think that's a bit of a simplification, to be honest.
It is a bit of a simplification, but anyway. Listen, I'll tell you one thing that annoyed me on the way in tonight.
Yeah, go on.
And I've been getting annoyed about this for some time. Well, it's to do with the traffic, but it's actually not the traffic arranged on the roads. It's specific cars.
Yeah.
I am getting more and more agitated and disappointed that every time I see a police car, it's filthy dirty.
Well, you keep going on about this because they
No,
can't
I don't think
afford
I've ever
to
mentioned this
clean
before.
You've mentioned it before.
When did I mention this?
Well, you mentioned it when there was a programme put into place by various police departments around the country asking kids to go and volunteer to wash the cars.
Oh, right, OK. Well, that's a good idea. Because what I'm saying is...
it wasn't a good idea at the time, I think.
Sorry?
Didn't you say it wasn't a good idea?
Well, all I'm saying is, if Sir Bernard Hogan Howe, which is his name, who is the head of the Metropolitan Police...
I'm not a big fan of his.
No, I'm not a big fan either. But if he can delegate hundreds of officers to go around researching so-called crimes of journalists which never stand up in court.
And mounting loads of dawn raids on their houses.
And sending 20 officers round to Lord Bramwell's home, a 94-year-old former head of the British military forces, to investigate an alleged historic sex crime, which in fact never happened.
And so then not apologise for it.
And then not apologise for it. If you can afford... to have that sort of expenditure on your budget.
And he was another
Can't
classy
you afford
guy,
to wash your cars?
He was another classy guy, that general, wasn't he? Because he said,
Lord Bramwell?
Yeah, I'm not bothered about getting an apology.
No, I think he would have liked an apology, but I think he also said...
No, but he wasn't going to press for it. He was like, well, either they give me one or they don't.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, I mean, this man, was head of the British Armed Forces, so he'd seen a bit more trouble than some policemen who...
But why does it bother you so much that police cars are dirty?
Well,
anyway?
I don't like to see them dirty. In my view, I would expect to see police cars dirty in the capital of Venezuela.
Venezuela?
Yeah.
Why? Is it a particularly dirty city?
Well, I mean, it's just broke, isn't it? The economy's broke. And when the economy's broke...
Well, they've got oil there, haven't they?
No, yeah, where? But the price of oil, of course, has plummeted now. So you can always tell when a country's economy is bust. It's because the police cars are always filthy dirty, OK?
Right. Well, is that the indication that our economy is busted?
Well, this is what I'm worrying about. This is what I'm worrying, that this might be a financial indicator that something's gone wrong with the economy. We can't afford to wash our police cars anymore.
Why can't the police just drive into one of these drive-through car washes
while
they're on duty?
Good question.
Go inside and talk to a couple of people, maybe pick up some intelligence on what's going on in the local area, and then, 10 minutes later, they've got a clean car.
Very good. And it costs £5.
Yeah.
£5 to get your car. I got my car washed.
I thought you gave yours to the 40 quid merchants.
Yeah, I did. I got it done. I was at Asda the other day.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I went shopping in Asda. Shopping.
What did you buy?
I bought a joint of fillet for £35.
Joint of fillet what?
Yes. Well, what do you think?
What's a joint of fillet? You mean a joint of beef, you mean?
Yeah, fillet. That's beef.
Well, you can't have a joint of fillet. Fillet is a cut of beef.
Yeah.
So you can have a joint of beef, or you can have a fillet of beef. You can't have a joint of fillet.
I had a joint of fillet beef.
Joint of fillet beef?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. What are you going to do with that?
Cook it, of course, you
Cook
idiot.
it?
In fact, I already have cooked it.
You have?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
How did it turn out?
Brilliant. And it's very...
when are we going to do this Aldo Zilli cook-off?
Very tender in the mouth, but I like mine well cooked, you see. I don't like it. But anyway, getting back to the police cars...
I want to know when we do this Aldo Zilli cook-off.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Right.
I want to know whether police cars around the country are as filthy as the police cars in London. I would appreciate some information, please, from our millions of listeners out there.
I haven't washed my car for ages because the weather's so awful.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
There's no point.
I have to get my wheels individually cleaned because they're so intricately engineered. You see what I mean?
Why can't you just fire a hose at them?
You can't. You need a bit more than that.
Rubbish.
But anyway...
Is that what these guys tell you for 40 quid?
No,
they have to be individually
cleaned. The chaps
cleaned.
who did it on, I think it was Sunday, I had it done. Did a brilliant job, yeah.
A busy day for you Sunday. You went to Wetherspoons in the morning, watched the game, took the car for a car wash.
Yeah, could have been all of that, mate. And I like to use my time usefully.
I know.
And it doesn't get me down. Now, I was telling you about the Rome Lofts, wasn't I? And I got this book,
well,
right?
I want to read some tweets out now.
Oh, yeah, read some tweets out. Yeah,
rambling
please.
from one subject to another.
Yeah, OK.
Dan says this. The essence of the January window is to help teams struggling with injuries to reevaluate their options.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I know that, but it's not really working, is it? There's no point because you can't reevaluate your options if your options are so limited. You can go, well, what should we do? Buy a striker? Oh, there aren't any, so we won't bother then. You know, it seems to me a ridiculous, pointless activity, really.
Yes.
Here's one from Steve. A broadcast that can never be. What a show that would have been. The two Mikes and the Irish legend Terry Wogan.
Well, it's very sad to have heard about Terry Wogan's demise over the weekend. It was another case because David Bowie was the same.
Yeah.
We didn't know he had cancer.
No.
And was fighting it.
I don't wish to sort of speak about matters which are important because of somebody's death.
Yes.
I mean, I wonder whether the reason for all of these stories not coming out is that newspapers have become much more timid about the way that they approach celebrities and the way that they... I mean, I've certainly heard from some friends of mine who are still in the business who say, you get a celebrity story, and the first thing that happens is you get a phone call from a lawyer saying, where'd you get that from? Did you hack a phone?
Yes.
And I'm afraid you can't run it.
Yes. Well, it may be the case. We're not in the business anymore, so I don't know how much of that actually goes on.
And also, I think society has changed. I mean, there would have been a time when the News of the World would have put a story out saying, Terry Wogan has cancer.
Yeah.
But now that's a kind of story that a lot of people would think was in poor taste.
Do you know when I think that turned? That turned when a few years ago The Sun printed a front-page headline on Frank Bruno, in which they
called him Bonkers.
They called Bonkers Bruno.
Yeah.
And he was, of course, suffering from depression and all sorts of problems like that. And that was a terrible...
He's on the front pages again today, isn't he?
Well, Jeff Powell, who's the legendary boxing writer, has written, one of these, personal letters to him because there was a piece around yesterday suggesting that at 54 years of age he was going to do a George Foreman and come back to,
he doesn't want to do that,
to the ring and start boxing again. Which I think, if you've got emotional emotional problems, which he seems to have had, and hopefully is getting the treatment to help him get over them.
Disorder,
well, apparently he does, yeah. Then I don't think it's a good idea to go into a ring and get your head bashed about again.
Yeah, says don't fight again or you will die. The front page of the Mirror.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, that sounds awfully dramatic.
That's from Frank Warren.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be very good for him, put it that way.
Well, I think when a promoter starts to tell you not to have a fight, I think you might want to take that quite seriously.
Well, I think you might, because promoters are in it to make money.
Well, exactly. Normally the promoters will be going, yeah, don't worry about it. You know,
right.
Even if you die, we'll all make lots of money.
Absolutely.
Not that I would in any way cast aspersions on the fine business of promoting.
No.
Coming up very shortly, we're going to be talking to a woman about disaster planning. You ever plan for a disaster?
I plan all the time for disasters. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll get your tips in a moment. This is TalkSport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
I'll take you to birth. Fire. I'll take you to learn. I'll see you burn. You fought hard and you saved and earned.
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. I've got a message for you from Sue in Tunbridge who says this, Mike, can you ask Porky to state categorically that Chelsea will lose tomorrow? Thank you. That will be 3 points we are then guaranteed.
Oh, yeah, I see. So you think the curse of Porky is a justifiable
it has been working
risk,
very well.
Is it? Yeah.
Well, it has been working very well lately. How about this one from Mal? MG, if you do go to Bournemouth with Porky, wear a crash helmet. 2 reasons, his bad driving standards, and also you won't be able to hear him. That's very good.
How funny is that?
No, I think that's excellent.
Now, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about...
Well, hang on, can I read a few more tweets
Yes,
out?
please do.
Let's see.
I'm sorry, I thought you'd finished reading those tweets.
You let me read out 2.
Yeah.
And then, you make me stop.
Yeah,
Here's one from Bob, who says, I hope Pep's English is better than Klopp's. His German is better than Trapattoni's.
Yeah.
I think Klopp's English is pretty good.
I think Klopp's English is excellent.
And
in fact, you know, have you heard this joke before? He speaks better English than some of his English players. He actually does.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
And also, Pep Guardiola did learn German before he went to work for Bayern Munich, but he speaks pretty good English already.
Yes, he did. Oh, he speaks excellent English, Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
I mean, that must be fantastic to have that ability to speak a language, you know, and like, I wonder whether the Neville brothers have picked up on Spanish yet. I know that Phil was taking lessons.
I don't think they should bother, to be honest. I don't think they're going to be there long enough.
No, I don't. I think you're right. Listen,
that was another one you said was going to be a great success.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did. You said Gary
Neville
will be a fantastic manager.
Yeah, but I think he made the wrong decision in his first managerial job. To go to a foreign country where he don't even speak the language, that was a huge risk.
Yeah, but he's going as the kind of acolyte of this rich guy, isn't he? And that's the guy who I've predicted.
This is absolutely
I've predicted is going to buy Manchester United.
Buy Manchester United because he already owns half of Salford City.
Did you not think, by the way, he was a bit snippy at that press conference?
Who?
Gary Neville.
Absolutely.
I actually took exception to something he said when he said, you guys are the ones that are making up all these stories. And he said, I've been a reporter.
I
went, excuse me, you have not been a reporter.
Been a pundit.
You've been a TV pundit.
That's right.
Drawing on a screen.
Absolutely.
With some great knowledge. Yeah. But please don't say you've been a reporter.
It's absolutely right. When he said, and you're reporters, and I've been a reporter. You haven't been a reporter, mate. You're a reporter when you're knocking on doors and people open doors and punch you in the face.
And call you fat man.
And tell you to go away.
Exactly.
So that's not it. Listen, I'll tell you what irritates me.
What, I mean, in addition to the dirty police cars?
Yeah, dirty police cars. Yeah, society is irritating me at the moment. But there's this guy, right, and he's got a great accolade from Southern Transport, whatever they're called.
What do you mean a great accolade?
Well, what happens is this guy is a driver on a train.
He's a train driver?
Yeah, train driver.
A driver on a train?
Yeah.
He's a train driver?
Train driver.
Right.
Now, I think train drivers should drive trains. And that's
isn't that what he does?
Well, on the route that I take, right, sometimes, which goes, and it's called Southern Trains, right? And these are trains from Surrey and Sussex.
Isn't that one of the franchises that got criticised very heavily just last week?
I don't know.
Three of the worst train companies in the country are running through London.
I don't know. The point is, these trains run from Surrey and Sussex into London Bridge or Victoria. So I could be on any of these trains, on any particular day. If I'm got a job in town or something like that, I've got to meet people in town. If I've got to go to a theatre, or if I've got to go meet you or something like that. And I could have this driver on my train.
Go for a £256 Italian full-bottle lunch.
Well, whatever. Yeah. But anyway, what happens is, this guy, his name is Steve Copley, right?
Why are you being so sort of sneering about him?
Because what he does is he tells you jokes and asks you quiz questions over his PA system.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for instance... And everybody's saying, oh, what a great guy, what a great guy.
Well, he's just sort of spreading the joy, isn't he? It's not very pleasant having to, commute on these trains.
Well, I don't want to hear from a, quote, witty, quote, funny, quote,
You're an old misery guts, aren't you?
Look,
you're an old misery guts.
Look what a character I am, train driver.
Why don't you put your very expensive headphones on, take them out of the faux leather bag, and just pretend that you're listening to music?
Yeah, good idea, because I want the train driver to drive the train and not get distracted by telling jokes.
I do have some sympathy.
And I want to know which station we're coming to. So here are some of his laugh lines, okay? This is the train to work, calling at work only. Everybody thinks that's funny.
That's sad, isn't it?
Right, his next one.
Not very good.
His next one. Our next station is broccoli. Not to be confused with a vegetable of a very similar name. Ha, 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 ha.
Well, I mean, there's so many miserable
that's
people.
supposed to be funny.
Well, it's all right. There's so many miserable
funny.
people. But hang on, but it's better than hearing over the tannoy, please get off this train now because it's going out of service. And you have to wait on a stinking, wet, gloomy platform.
Yeah, but it's not as
good
as hearing your next station is Epsom, Surrey. And that's all I need to know, in case
don't you know where the station is?
Well, it's just in case it's dark or something like that, and you want to know exactly where you are, and I'm immersed in, gathering information
you
as
need
I'm
somebody
all the
to
time.
tell you when to get off the train.
No, I need a reminder sometimes. Now, and this next one, apparently...
But he's one of those typical kind of English guys, though, who enjoys making people smile.
But he's invading my privacy.
No,
he's invading my head when he's giving me all these...
You're not entitled to any privacy on a train.
You can't turn the public address system off. How about this one?
Go on.
If you guessed the year correctly, please collect your free beep on the way through the ticket barrier. Ha, ha, ha. It's all drivel.
Free beep?
Free beep, yeah.
Do you think he sits up late coming up with all this stuff?
Well, I don't know, but like if you've got one of these cars,
I get it,
and you touch it, it bleeps, doesn't it?
Have you got one of those?
Yeah, I've got one of those.
An Oyster card. Does that stretch all the way into Surrey then?
Yes, it does. Yeah, yeah. Well, it stretch anywhere. You can buy it to suit any
take
journey.
It to Manchester.
No, but you could if you had a Manchester-based card, if you see what I mean.
No, well, that's why it wouldn't
and anyway,
work.
you can use a credit card these days for any journey.
You can use, what do they call it, contactless?
Yes, that's right, yeah. But listen to this one as well. On this train, folks, there are no fines, just friends.
Apart from you, obviously.
And this is
You're sitting there seething in the corner.
Some insight. One traveller writing...
I'm not against it in principle.
Yeah, one traveller writing online said, "Oh, it was the best commute I ever had." And another said, "Oh, God, I love the fab Southern Rail UK driver trying to cheer this miserable bunch of sods up with his..."
They must lead shallow, desolate lives. They think that's entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wouldn't give the guy a hard time because he's just trying to cheer people up. And there are an awful lot of miserable people travelling on public transport. And if somebody makes you smile, then what's wrong with it?
I don't know.
Why don't you get up and entertain them?
Southern Rail UK, please can you tell us this driver's shift so we can always make sure we're on his train? It's garbage.
Well, it's not garbage. It's a very typically British story, I would suggest. It's like, these are the kind of salt of the earth types who keep the trains running, and he's driving the train as well. Yeah. He's just trying to be happy.
Well, I'd rather he concentrate on driving a train. Driving a train's a big responsibility, right? And if there's somebody wandering around, or there's a cow wandering onto the track or something like that, you need to be able to focus on that. A Southern spokesman said, "We are delighted that Steve has been keeping his passengers entertained. We encourage all our conductors and drivers to make announcements and keep passengers informed during their journeys when it is safe to do so." Yeah, I'd agree with that. But
when it's safe to do so.
And daft, questions and all that. Yeah. Not for me, thank you. Give me a driver who just drives.
Why don't you just, enjoy life and stop, picking on people who are actually trying
I'm not picking on anybody.
Who are trying to sort of just bring a little light into some people's lives. Because a lot of people get on a train, for example, and they don't talk to anybody before they get on the train.
Well, you shouldn't talk to people on the train.
Why not?
Some jerk started trying to talk to me on a train, I'd pull the communication cord and I'm arrested.
Well, no, you'd be arrested for doing that.
No, well...
Why are you so antisocial?
I'm not antisocial.
The trouble with you is you've been living alone for such a long time that you can't stand to be in the company of anybody that you don't know.
That's a rubbish.
That's your problem.
No.
Now, how about this? I'll give you some ammunition for this guy.
Okay.
Southern Rail, South East Trains and Thameslink voted the worst in Britain by passengers, right?
Oh, there you go.
Aside from your speaking driver there, everybody else is pretty unhappy.
Yeah.
Thameslink came bottom, 73% for passenger satisfaction, followed by South Eastern on 75%, and the other one, Southern, 78%.
I didn't realise that. Well, perhaps they should concentrate on trying to improve their service instead of staffing their trains.
Well, I mean, it's very simple.
Second-rate comedians who think they're lighting your life up.
I'm going to shock you here, right? It's very simple how you fix the railways in this country. You renationalise them. It's the only way to make them work.
Well, I've said that for a while.
What?
I've said that for a while.
You haven't.
I have. I don't see how on one railway network across the country you can have so many different companies putting their trains on them, it just simply can't work.
No.
And it just means everything's going to be more expensive.
Well, also to have a different company that owns the track and a different company that owns the trains.
I totally agree.
It's bonkers.
I totally agree.
And the simple solution to their problem, basically around London anyway, is to have more carriages and more space, because there's too many people trying to get into not enough trains.
And the idea that, well, competition drives down prices, utter rubbish. There's usually only one train company going in one direction on one route. So if you want to go from here to Glasgow, you only go on Virgin, don't you?
Well, you can go East Coast or West Coast, can't you?
Well, all right.
I think the East Coast is still sort of in abeyance.
Yeah, I
Nobody
think it is.
actually owns it, because National Express gave it back because they couldn't make any money.
It was like repossessed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the West Coast one, if you're going to Liverpool or Manchester, your only choice is a Virgin train, isn't it?
I don't know.
And by the way, I don't think they're bad Virgin trains. I travel on them all the time, going up to the north west.
They are generally good.
They're okay.
Our executive producer just suggested, why don't they have standing room only trains in the rush hour?
Well, I've suggested that before. I think there's any.
Has anybody come up with any ideas that you haven't thought of?
No, in fact, I also have put forward a theory about standing only aeroplanes. If you're flying from...
well, that's Ryanair's idea, isn't it?
Is it Ryanair's idea? Well, it was my idea first.
No, it wasn't.
I thought about it first.
No, you read about Ryanair's idea.
No, I didn't. I thought about it years ago.
They were going to charge you £1 for the toilet, and they were going to make you stand and sort of strap yourself to the
I thought about it years ago.
Now, I'll show you a picture here if I can manage to find it.
What's it a picture of?
It's a picture of two people on a train. There's so little space. There's a guy sitting on a table. Now, what would you do in that situation if you were actually in that seat?
Well, if it was my table and somebody sat on the table in front of me, I'd remove them from the table. You'd have to, wouldn't you?
Well, he looks like quite a large character, though.
No, it doesn't. It looks like a woman, actually, with boots.
It's not a woman with boots. It's a man with boots, isn't it?
No, it's a woman with boots.
Is it?
So if it was a woman, you wouldn't be able to manhandle her, because if you did, you'd get arrested.
That wouldn't be a good idea.
No, wouldn't be a good idea at all. Perhaps that's what she's doing.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, what do you think...
When we go to Manchester, by the way, you're going to go by train? Or are you going to drive me up in your luxurious Mercedes?
Now, we're going to the Dance House, aren't we?
Yes.
It's a nice theatre, that. It's on Oxford Road.
Now, do you know the area at all?
Yes, I know the area.
Where are we going to stay? Don't say the name of the hotel, but are there hotels in the vicinity?
Yes, there are lots of them these days.
Good ones?
Tall ones, big tower blocks of hotels now, yeah.
I don't care how high they are.
Yeah, there are, yeah.
I don't care how high they are.
Yeah, it's a very developing city.
You haven't given it any thought as to where we should stay, have you?
Yes, of course I have. Yeah, I know about these things. I've got people looking at the situation. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
What's the date of that one?
It's the April the 9th, isn't it?
April the 9th.
April the 9th.
Saturday, April the 9th. Yeah, okay. Now, this Friday, of course, we've got a viewing at the Hen and Chickens.
Screening.
I'm afraid at screening. It's sold out, but don't worry, kids. We're screening...
somebody's just returned 2 tickets, apparently.
They have.
Go.
So have a look on the old website. That's the2mics.co.uk.
Yeah, you might be able to get your hands on them.
It's sold out, but the DVD has just been relaunched, in the sense that we've just had a new batch of DVDs in, so if you want to buy one, also the2mics.co.uk. Sorry?
It hasn't really been relaunched.
Well, I mean, it's been...
There's just more of them
We've
now.
got more of them. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Technically speaking, I mean, you could call that a relaunch. I mean, it's a bit like relaunching your brand, isn't it? When you relaunch your washing powder. Yes,
that's right.
Sign up a new celebrity.
Yes.
Change the colour of the box.
Absolutely
Still the same stuff inside.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But it's quality stuff, you see. That's the point.
Kenny says this, Porky couldn't outwit anyone. He's not got enough wit to be a half-wit.
What do you mean?
That's a bit harsh.
Why would I want to outwit anybody? What's all that about?
Well, because you're always talking about outwitting me.
Oh, well, it's not difficult.
How about this one from Derek in Pencoed? He says, Mike, a message for Comrade Parry. If you're an expert on Russian history like you, you would know it has more history than what happened in World War II. You failed in the quiz again. Get over it.
No.
He's being very aggressive tonight, Derek.
Yeah, well, he's got nothing better to do. He's probably been on that Welsh elderberry wine or something.
Well, no, he's got to get up early. He's a cleaner.
Oh, is he?
Did you not know that?
I don't know. What's he cleaning his floors with? The same sort of stuff he drinks
at
at
night.
night.
You're being disparaging of a man who works as a working-class man in a very honest job.
Yes,
once again, the snob strikes. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it?
But, unfortunately, that's not what we're doing at the moment, because you look out the window, there's all this wind. I mean, it's so windy tonight.
Storm Henry.
Yeah. I reckon since they've started naming these storms, they've actually got worse.
Well, it's ridiculous. Do you know why they named the storms?
Why?
We never used to name storms in this country.
No, I know,
that was an American phenomenon, because the storm was on such a wide front. They caused rain.
No, but also they have tropical storms in America, and they have hurricanes, which have names. I mean, they're bigger storms than this.
Exactly. No, the reason we started calling them storms was because the old Green Brigade, right?
Well, no, they are storms, though.
No. We never used to call them by names, but the Green Brigade, right?
Who's the Green Brigade?
Oh, the people who think that the greenhouse effect is still happening and we're all going to die.
Do you not think it is happening then?
Well, I think there's climate change, but it's not the greenhouse effect. They wanted to name the storms so that we could all pretend to frighten each other to death with the amount of climate change,
I think it's
which
quite
they
helpful.
will claim, which they will claim has been caused by man burning fossil fuels.
Which may well be the case. However, surely it's better to have a name for the storm,
No,
because
it's not.
then you can differentiate between one storm finishing and another one starting.
No, a storm.
And also, the storms are getting worse.
A storm which hardly affects anybody shouldn't be named Storm
This storm
Henry.
is
It makes
affecting
people
everybody.
frightened. Well, it's
This
not
storm-
affecting me.
Really?
No.
Well,
Has it affected
that's all
you?
you care about. Well,
Has
it
it
was
affected you?
very windy when I went out earlier.
Well, it's a bit windy. So what? We've had the wind around for about 20 million years.
People are getting blown about. You know, there's
Okay,
going to
they
be
get
more.
blown
There's
about.
going to be more flooding. There's
Wind
going to
is
be
good, you know.
The ferries can't run up in Scotland. You know, there's an awful lot of people in this
beautiful
country.
breeze is good for you, believe me.
Well, there's an awful lot of people in the north of England and in Scotland who are going to be very badly affected by this. So once again, you're just being selfish.
No, I'm not.
Now let's talk to Cheryl Nelson, who is a disaster preparedness consultant, right?
Excellent.
Now, I don't know if you even know what that is.
Of course I do.
But I'm going to ask her. Cheryl, very good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing today?
Very well indeed.
Very
thank you.
well. As you can see, I have a little trouble sometimes controlling my my co-presenter here, who has some very old-fashioned views about science, etc. But what exactly is a disaster preparedness consultant?
Well, basically, I'm a broadcast meteorologist by degree, and I have focused on preparing families basically for the average type of natural disaster. So whether it be hurricane, winter storm, flooding, snow, what have you, it's something that I think everybody in their family should be prepared for. And a lot of us take for granted, unfortunately.
Well, the thing is, in America, though, if you live in certain parts of it, you're kind of pretty sure that you're going to get, if you live in, Tornado Alley in the Midwest, you're going to get some tornadoes. If you live in the Northeast, you're going to get snow. In this country, it seems to be getting more severe, the weather, but we never really know what to expect.
Oh, no.
Why are you
guys have
laughing?
meteorologists over there, right?
Well, no, but they're not very good. They actually gave up, the meteorology office actually gave up making long-term weather forecasts because they were so bad at it.
Oh, my goodness.
They never give the weather forecast more than 3 days in advance now.
I actually believe that. I do. Long-term forecasts are a roll of the dice sometimes is how I feel. And 3-4 days, I'm comfortable with that. Beyond that, I think things are going to change a whole lot. And those long-term forecasts, I mean, who knows, honestly?
You say who knows, Cheryl. So what is the danger of your profession, which I think is a very noble profession, obviously, being branded as scaremongering? I mean, you only got to get it wrong once before people say, oh, why should we listen to
You're always scaring people with your warning stories.
Could you just shut up a minute, please?
Shut up.
Yeah. You've only got to get it wrong once, Cheryl, before people say, oh, well, they're always predicting the worst and all this kind of stuff. How'd you get over that?
Oh, let me tell you, we busted a snow forecast one time in Virginia, and people went bonkers. I was told to jump off a cliff. My dog can forecast better than you. Give your degree back. I mean, you name it.
Golly.
People can be brutal on the phone and over email. And now that you have social media, they're going to say whatever they want to say.
But because also they expect you to get it right, don't they? I mean, we had I don't know if you've heard this story about a weatherman here called Michael Fish, who very famously got the hurricane of 1987 wrong. And the night before the hurricane hit, he said, don't worry, it's not going to hit here at all. And there were, huge ships overturned in the English Channel. There were
millions of trees blown down.
Seven oaks became one oak because, six of the trees got blown over and it was roofs being torn off. And he never really recovered from that. And every time, and we're talking, decades since that happened. That's
right.
Whenever he gets interviewed now on TV, they say, so, how did you get it so wrong in 1987? He's never been able to live it down.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
It's tough. We're predicting the future if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Not many professions are doing that.
Now, how can you differentiate as well between, those crazy people who live up mountains in sort of, places like North Dakota who think that, the American government's coming for them and they've got loads of guns and tins of beans? What's the difference between doing that and actually being smart about what you put in your cellar?
There are a lot of preppers in the United States. I will admit that. And not everybody is, like that. But there are people who are, I guess, take it to the extreme. They have the underground shelters and whatnot and months of supplies.
Right.
But, I mean, basically what I'm saying to do is have a 2-week supply of things like medications. I mean, things like that. Things that it's not going to break the bank, but you're also going to be prepared to be on your own for a few days to a week or two if, say, the power goes out and something like that happens.
The problem you've got, of course, in the United States, Cheryl, it's so big, and you can't possibly, can you, prepare people for every eventuality. 10 inches of snow can become 3 feet of snow, can't it, within hours?
It's amazing what can happen here. We just had that big snowstorm affect Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and the whole area was at a standstill. I mean, there's travel bans. People are not allowed to go anywhere, to leave their homes because they're trying to clear the snow off the streets and the sidewalks. And it's just really, it shuts down society. And it's amazing what just that little bit of snow for some people can do. And I say little bit, it was a lot there. But for example, where I am, down in southeastern Virginia, we get 1 inch of snow here, and that shuts down everything. Now, realizing I'm using inches. You guys don't use that over there.
No, we do.
UK.
Yeah, no, we do. No,
you see,
a lot of Americans think we don't use feet and inches. We do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and we get it here. You see, the problem with America, Cheryl, is this, and Mike and I both lived in America for quite large parts of our lives.
I'm not necessarily about to endorse what you were going to say, though.
Yeah. No. But the problem is, I used to say, I can't understand why people live in parts of California where every summer about 30 houses get burnt down because of the drought.
Right.
I can't believe that
There's
people...
also a big earthquake coming.
That's right, the big earthquake coming. I can't believe why people live in parts of America where there's 3 or 4 feet of snow on the ground for 3 months a year and they can't move around. But the problem is, wherever you live in America, you've got some sort of a problem at some stage of the year, haven't you?
That's not true.
That's it. I'm moving to the UK. I'm coming over.
No, you don't. Listen, don't come here for the weather, whatever you do, because the weather here is actually seriously getting worse. I mean, we get now the sort of the back end of your big storms. We've got one, and we started naming. Now, Mr. Parry, you may have heard him just before we spoke to you, Cheryl, about he wasn't happy about the fact that they've now started naming storms. But naming storms actually helps people to identify.
To make them sound more serious.
No, it doesn't. It helps people to identify. I'm not asking you. Anyway, I'm asking the meteorologists.
Well, I'm giving my opinion anyway.
Isn't the reason that they name them to be able to differentiate one from another?
It certainly makes it easier on social media, for example, if you're referencing a storm with a hashtag. I know here in the United States, the Weather Channel has started naming winter storms themselves, but it's funny because the National Weather Service will not acknowledge those names at all. So how
do they refer to the storms then, just by sort of calling it a storm?
Exactly. They just say this storm on this date, and it does, in my opinion, make sense to name them because it's easier to reference them. People can talk about it. It makes sense. But then how do you pick the names? I mean, it's not like hurricanes where you have names
I'm not sure how they... I'm not
6 years.
I mean, the hurricanes go sort of female, male. But they also go female, male. You still have to pick them, though. They don't use every single name.
Well, that's right.
I'm not sure how they picked the names here. I think it was some kind of strange, quaint process that they used. But
and they try to make them sound scary, too. I mean, you're not going to have
no, don't say that, because that's what Paul said.
They do. They try to make them sound as scary as possible.
What's the name of the one that's about to hit?
Henry.
Yes. Does that sound scary to you?
Pretty scary.
Henry.
Because
really?
Because
it's what you call a basset hound.
No. But if it was just called a storm, it'd be fine. But we've got to make it sound bigger and more frightening by giving it a name.
Not a scary name.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is. Cheryl, what about these nutters you have in the United States who literally go and drive into the eye of the storm because they think it's exciting
Hurricane
to have
chasers.
They're
studying them.
Have their cars lifted off the road and removed 3 or 4 miles onto a cornfield somewhere?
Oh, yes. We have a lot of those tornado chasers here in the United States. And people will travel to Tornado Alley just to do that and try to find a storm.
But aren't most of them sort of doing it for the purposes of collecting information?
No, they do it because
I'm
they're
not
risk
asking
takers. Well, I'm telling the answer.
I'm asking the expert. I'm
Some
sorry about
of them do that. They go out there with equipment and they want to get information. However, a lot of them are thrill chasers and they want to go out there to see it. They get the video, to get the pictures.
Yeah.
And you're not going to see me doing that because I know the power.
Well, you've obviously got a very thrilling life already. But I mean, for some of these people, if they live in a very flat part of the country, they might find that's the only excitement they can get.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, not much going on out there, right?
Either I mean, I've been to Wichita, Kansas. I don't ever want to go back.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, yes, I know what you mean.
They actually had a tornado alarm when I was staying there. I was with Boris Yeltsin at the time.
Oh, really?
When I say with him, I was following him around.
Yeah, well, he was probably intoxicated.
He was completely smashed.
Most of the time,
he used to drink a bottle of Jack Daniels, every morning, throughout the course of the day. Yeah. And I was, asleep in my hotel room. Sorry, you can jump in any time here, Cheryl, but I'm just going to tell this story. And it's suddenly there was a banging and my phone was ringing. There was people banging on the door. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And they're like, you have to get out of the room, Sarah. There's a tornado.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, well, I don't want to get out of the room. I'm quite happy here, thanks. So they made me evacuate the room. And everybody else had been downstairs.
Probably just trying to get rid of you.
Well, that's good.
No, but everybody else was down.
Right?
Yeah, but they were all downstairs. And actually, I was glad in the end that I came downstairs because I went outside and I saw the most amazing sky that I've ever seen. One side of the road was completely black.
Oh, yes.
I didn't actually see the spout, as it were, but one side was completely black, like pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side, the sun was shining. And later that day, one of the car dealerships got hit by tennis ball-sized hailstones.
Oh, and smashed all the windscreens on the cars.
Smashed all the cars.
Yeah, that's bad
That'll
news.
hurt.
Yeah,
That is bad
exactly.
news, yeah. Cheryl, thank you ever so much.
Are you finished now?
No,
I wanted to ask you one more question.
Well, please do.
One final question, Cheryl.
Yeah, go ahead, you guys.
Now,
I love the rambling. This
In
is
your
great.
in your capacity, it's a very harsh way to describe our show. In your capacity as a meteorological expert, is the Earth, getting more stormy? Is it getting hotter? Is it getting colder? What do you reckon?
I know El Nino plays a big part in what's happening with the weather right now, but I honestly believe that everything happens in cycles, and weather records only date back so many 100 years or so. And if you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, there was an ice age and then everything went back to normal. I think it's going to happen continuously. And there are more people around now, too. Social media, more ways for this weather information to get out there.
Right.
So I think to us, it may seem worse because there's more people reporting the information. So in my opinion, that's how things are happening. I think it's probably always been like this, but we just have more evidence of it happening now.
I totally agree with you.
Sounds like a woman after your own heart, Mr.
There were
Parry.
more storms in the 19th century in the state of Florida than there are today.
How do you know?
But there weren't as many people there to report
Well,
them.
how do you know?
I know.
How do
Because
you know? There weren't any records either.
Because I've studied it.
You've studied it
I've
where?
studied it. I've studied
Listen
it,
to
mate.
this.
Where?
I love
Yeah,
it.
I've studied it with the available information. There were more storms in Florida in the 19th century
Says
than there
who?
are in the 21st
Says who?
century. But because nobody lived
Yeah,
there,
but I don't
it didn't
believe you.
matter.
Well, I don't believe
It was
you.
just
Well,
swampland in those
Well, how
days.
did they know they were having storms then?
Because
nobody
they
lived there.
Because people
They
had been
didn't-
down there and found out. They
Well,
had to
hang
go
on.
and find out before they lived there.
No, you can't have it both ways.
Oh,
you
yeah,
either
yeah.
have people witnessing it,
No.
or you have scientific equipment which
nobody
measures
witnessed
it.
it.
They didn't have
Nobody
either of those,
witnessed
so
it.
nobody
There was nobody
witnessed
there.
it,
There was
and there was
nobody
no
there.
scientific equipment to record it.
They know because
So-
they can tell historically
Rubbish.
how the state developed.
Absolute rubbish.
Trees that were blown down 150 years ago can still be traced to
How do
having
they-
blown
no.
down 150 years ago.
Rubbish.
You idiot, don't
Talking
you realise that's
absolutely-
called scientific research?
No, it's not. It might be in your world, it is, not in mine.
It's in any world.
So look
least
at the
any
time.
world.
Look at the time. This is Talk Sport.
If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now. It's just the two mics flicking through tomorrow's papers.
What are you doing in my shrubbery, you dirty little...
Nocturnal stirrings from the night garden of sporting news with Mike Ninky Nonk Graham and Mike Pinky Ponk Parry on Talk Sport. If you're up with a baby, you'll get it.
It is the evening of the day. I sit and watch the children play.
Isn't that beautiful?
Faces all around,
Don't sing in a woman's
but
voice.
not for me. I sit and watch the tears go by.
You've ruined it now. I love
No, I
this song.
haven't.
You have,
Well-
you've ruined it.
Yeah, who wrote it?
It's a Rolling Stones song.
It's not. It's Marianne Faithfull.
Yeah, I know it's Marianne Faithfull singing it.
Yeah.
But that was because of her association with the Rolling Stones. They gave this to...
Mick Jagger and Keith Richards.
And, well, Brian Jones, really.
Oh, did Brian Jones write it?
Well, no, I think he gave her the song because he
Oh, I
was the
see.
guy in charge of the Rolling Stones. wasn't
I see, yeah.
he? You know that, right?
No, I didn't know that. I thought...
Brian Jones was the guy, the genius behind the Rolling Stones. It wasn't
Yeah.
Jagger and Richards.
I thought she was having sex with Mick Jagger.
She was having sex with all of them, I think.
So Mick Jagger... Oh, really?
I think so.
Well, all the
Well, she
Rolling
was
Stones.
originally Brian Jones's girlfriend, I'm pretty sure.
No, she wasn't. No, I
think
don't
she
think she
was.
was. No, I think she was originally Mick Jagger's girlfriend. And then perhaps Keith Richards.
I think she probably, shall we say, was close to all of them.
I think Brian Jones was so confused in the last few months of his life. I don't think he knew who he was going out with.
Yeah,
to be
but I
honest.
think
That's why he drowned in a swimming pool. He didn't know he was in a swimming
Yeah,
pool,
but she
apparently.
wasn't. I don't think she was with him at that point now.
No, she wasn't, because what happened was Mick Jagger and Keith Richards drove down to Sussex, where Brian Jones lived. They bought that house that used to belong to the guy who wrote Pooh Sticks, Winnie the Pooh.
Sticks?
Yeah.
Or A.A. Milne?
A.A. Milne, that's right, it was his
He
house.
didn't write Pooh Sticks, that's a game.
Yeah, right. Well, he wrote the book.
You stand on a bridge, you drop sticks, and you see which one comes out the other side first.
Yeah, but he had to write about the game, didn't he, you idiot?
Well, he wrote Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, that's right.
And
in
Winnie
which
the Pooh,
Sticks was starred.
who is, of course, smarter than the average bear, but also fictional.
That's right.
And comes to life even though he really shouldn't.
Yeah. Anyway.
He invented the game.
That's right,
Why are we arguing about who invented Pooh sticks?
Well, because it was in the book, wasn't it, written by A.A. Milne. Anyway, they drove down there to tell Brian Jones, you're out the group, because he was so off his head on drugs.
He was.
On a daily basis. He couldn't even function. He couldn't turn up for rehearsals or anything. And when they got there, they told him, then they drove away, and then within a couple of days, he was found floating face down in his swimming pool.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of it. Why did we play that song, anyway?
Because I'm going to see her tonight.
Who?
Marianne Faithfull.
Where?
At the Roundhouse.
What for?
Because I was invited to go.
Well, she doesn't perform anymore.
Well, I'd be disappointing for everyone then.
Well, very disappointing indeed, yeah.
I think the idea is you're going to go and watch her sing.
Well, I think you...
And hopefully she's going to sing that song.
That'll be quite an experience then, because she lives in Ireland now anyway, doesn't she?
What, you're telling me that this is some kind of hoax that I've been cruelly tricked in?
Well, I didn't even know that she did public performances anymore, to be honest.
She says the same about you.
Well, I'm sure she does, yeah, but there's evidence that we do public performances.
Well, there's evidence that she does. She's playing at the Roundhouse tomorrow.
Roundhouse? Is that anywhere near, what's another place
Don't tell
called?
me you don't know where the Roundhouse is.
I know the Roundhouse.
Where is it then?
Chalk Farm.
Yeah, it is Chalk Farm.
Right,
correct.
thank you.
Right opposite the station.
Is it near the Dingwalls?
It is not far from Dingwalls.
Exactly.
It's a very short walk.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
A hop, skip and a jump, you might say. But it may be too early to give anything away on that.
No, we may have some moves about Dingwalls in the forthcoming months. Anyway, there we go.
In 1966, she took her son, which she had with Mick Jagger. Did she have a son with Mick Jagger?
She had a little boy, Mick Jagger, yeah.
To stay with Brian Jones and Anita Pallenberg in London. During that time, she started smoking marijuana, became best friends with Pallenberg, and then she got into a relationship with him as well. So it was all very incestuous, I think.
Who's him as well?
Brian Jones.
Brian Jones, I see, yeah. Because, of course, she was the woman who famously, when the police raided that house I've just told you about...
Was it the one in West Wittering?
Yes, that's the one. She was found to have a rug wrapped around her, and that's all she had on. She just got out the bath or the shower or something.
But you see, you, like many people, if you had been around at that time, would have been shocked by all that, wouldn't you? Because I mean, it was rebel behaviour.
No, that would have been great. That was proper rock star behaviour.
No, but it was the promiscuous society beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah, I suppose it was actually.
But you would have been sitting there tutting on your Daily Express.
I don't think so.
Desk saying how dreadful that these people are living
I
under
don't
the same
think so.
roof without being
I don't
married.
think so. I just think it's
but
amazing.
You have these Victorian values.
No, I don't have Victorian values at all.
You don't like nudists, do you?
No, I don't like nudists.
Well, why do you like
nudists? Are disgusting people.
Well, why do you like Marianne Faithfull walking around wrapped in a rug then?
Well, because she was like 21 years of age at the time.
Well, how does that make?
With long blonde
so
hair.
as long as people are attractive, you don't mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So how about attractive nudists then?
No, most nudists are fat and ugly. And,
that's not my point. And what if they were attractive nudists?
Well,
then you wouldn't object to them.
No.
So it's an aesthetic thing.
I don't mind seeing a naked body, providing it is of an acceptably attractive shape.
Really?
But a fat, useless
body... Have you ever
body...
heard yourself talking about this?
No.
Right.
Why?
Well,
Why?
I mean, have you looked in the mirror lately?
What's it got? Look.
I mean, presumably you look in the mirror and think, what a grotesque and hideous looking figure of a man.
No, I don't ever. But I like watching footballers who are young and skillful. I am not a young and skillful footballer. It doesn't mean I can't appreciate one who is.
Trust me, you never were young and skillful.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
you weren't.
When I played for English grammar schools.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, somebody tweeted me about that the other day.
Oh, right.
Saying that, well, of course, Porky, by way of saying that you were a brilliant athlete in your youth.
Yes.
Well, of course, Porky played for English grammar schools.
Yes.
And you know what I said?
What?
I said, well, so he says. But I've never seen any evidence.
Why should you doubt it? What would I say if it
Why should I doubt anything you say?
Yeah.
Because you're a fantasist. You make stuff up.
Don't be ridiculous.
You do.
Don't be ridiculous.
You make stuff up.
You're mad.
And you have no grounds for saying it.
No.
Where's your shirt from it? Where's your, certificate that says you played for your country?
I don't know. It was 40 years ago, for goodness sake,
It wasn't a Stone Age.
Sorry?
It wasn't the Stone Age.
Well, I don't know. My mother's probably got it or something.
Oh, well, maybe I'll meet your mother when I come down to Bournemouth.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I'll go and ransack her cupboards and see what I can find.
I wouldn't think that would be necessary. And I mean, to accuse me of being a fantasist is a bit hard.
Yes, I take that back, actually.
Fantasist about what,
Well, I'll tell you what you are, actually. You're not a fantasist. That would be wrong.
Thank you.
I take it back.
Right.
You're an exaggerator.
Rubbish.
You exaggerate.
Rubbish.
You flannel every story to make it sound better when you don't need to.
Rubbish.
You don't need to.
Rubbish.
Right, instead of just being
I'm precisely
quite a decent young footballer. You have to come out with this rubbish about, I played for English grammar schools.
I want to tell you something.
Instead of being, okay at cricket, you had to be captain of the third 11.
I did play for English grammar school, so why shouldn't I say it?
Well, because I don't believe you.
Oh, you don't believe me. You don't believe a lot of things in life, mate, because you can't get it in your head.
Because I'm a journalist and I prefer to see, evidence, empirical evidence.
Talking about you just mentioned about my third 11 cricket, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me tell you this. Do you know who Michael Henderson is?
No.
Michael Henderson's a great cricket writer, okay? I'm not sure which of the broadsheet papers he's writing for at the moment, but...
Michael Henderson, he's a former cricketer, is he?
No, well, he's a former cricketer, I think, at county level,
right.
and he's a great writer for, the Times, Telegraph, those sort of papers and all that.
I don't really read much cricket, to be honest.
Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute why he says schools like mine are the only hope for the future of cricket in this country.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're the representative of that hope?
Yes.
Save me Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think is all I'd say to that. This is Talk Sport.
Mind-expanding sundown sporting discourse for witches, kebab van owners...
You want some chili sauce with that?
...and washed-up burglars too fat to fit through your cat flap.
You great fat thieving lumper lad!
Cult listening worth staying awake for. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll read that again. Oh no, I was right the first time. The two mics on Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to Two Mics. We're keeping you entertained and hopefully informed throughout the night. We'll be doing some predictions for some Premier League games coming up a little bit later on today in this hour. Also, it's going to be time for winners and losers. Porky says his are exemplary, but then he says that every week. I wonder whether we're just going to have 50-50s for the rest of the season.
No, I don't think
Possible.
so. No, I don't think so.
Possible.
I've upped the quality of mine even better than last week.
Well, I mean, you are capable of improving at every step, so it's good that you're doing that because, when people accuse you of not putting the work in, I think you get hurt feelings. It's not a good thing.
No, I don't get hurt feelings. I just like to know that the audience understand my philosophy.
My philosophy, yes, exactly right. You're listening to Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. Now, quite a few people have had a go at you for your attitude towards the speaking train driver.
Oh, yeah, that chap, yes.
Dennis says about the train driver telling bad jokes, pot, meat, kettle. So I think
I don't tell jokes. I don't tell jokes. I'm informative, and I elucidate, but
telling
I don't tell
jokes. is a sort of fairly simple-minded way of behaving.
Yeah, of course it is. When you go into a pub and you stand there,
like somebody just keeps it's opening a cracker and reading the same joke over and over again.
Or somebody joins you. You don't particularly want to be in your company because you're mixing a select band of people, and somebody's
select band.
Yeah. Your tiny select band of people that you want to socialise with, really.
Well, you're talking about yourself, not me, necessarily.
Well, you haven't got a big band of people you want to socialise with.
No, but I don't mind meeting new people, that's my point.
Oh, well, I'm a bit wary of meeting new people.
No, you don't like meeting new people at all.
Particularly if somebody says, do you want to hear a joke?
Do you think they might be trying to poison you?
By the way, the boy from...
the boy from the Black Stuff.
No, Penrith, is it?
Penrith? Pencoed.
Pencoed.
Derek.
Derek, yeah.
He sent another one in, actually.
No, what's it say?
He says, the reason Porky's against the train driver who tells jokes and asks questions is because he would get the answers wrong like he does every week in the Porky quiz.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't, actually. But did you tell me, that Derek is a cleaner?
He is a cleaner, yeah.
OK. Does he get a mop after 20 years?
You see, you've made that joke about him before. So, unfortunately, because your grey matter is disappearing faster than the ozone layer, you can't actually remember.
Oh, dear me.
Now, how about this, then? From Lee, who's also in South Wales. He says, why does Porky insist on answering questions that are clearly aimed at your fantastic guests? It's so bloody annoying.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when I was asking Cheryl some questions about, weather-related topics and, global warming and all of that, you kept answering them. And I wasn't directing the questions.
No, I just... it helps to inform, you know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't always help to interrupt, though.
No, I'm not necessarily interrupting, just kind of informing.
Right, how about this from D, who says, Porky as the train announcer would bore us telling how much Hispanic Prada sandals cost and £35 on burgers.
Who? Who would say that?
You.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't bother at all.
Well, how much did you spend on those yellow slippers? 175 quid, was it?
Something like that.
So put that together with the £260 bar bill, right? So for a pair of slippers and 4 bottles of wine, you've spent, probably the average income of most people in this country.
That was all a mistake, I'm telling you. That was all a terrible mistake.
It may well have been.
And I was trying to point out that I'd been ripped off, not anything else.
Well, you haven't been ripped off. You pay hotel prices if you go to a hotel. Wayne says this, Porky, you will never get the love of the working man the way you are talking, you snob.
What do you mean?
You're a snob.
I'm not a snob.
He's
I'm
calling you out and saying you're a snob.
Well, I don't think I'm a snob because all I try to do is recognise with the aspiring man.
But your language.
No, I'm aspirant.
No, but your language gives you away. You talk
Actually,
about.
That's a good definition of me.
What?
Aspirant.
Expirant.
No, aspirant.
What, you mean as in you aspire to do something else?
Exactly.
What do you aspire to be then?
I come from humble beginnings.
A better person.
Yes, I come from humble beginnings.
Do you aspire to be a better person?
And I aspire to be a good person.
Yeah. How's that going?
It's going very well.
Do you think?
Yes, because if I was...
When was the last good deed you did?
Last good deed I did?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you about aspirations, right?
Now, tell me about the last good deed you did first.
The last good deed I did, I probably helped somebody last week.
Slagging off a sort of a jovial train driver.
But listen, the aspiring bit, right, this is very interesting.
You used to play for Newcastle.
Did you see an instruction, an order, or a suggested order from Europe last week that children who are made to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and can't deliver papers, you've got to ban all this because they can't concentrate when they get to school?
Did you read down the Express?
What do you mean?
Well, it sounds like one of those bent banana stories.
No.
The European Union can't tell us what to do with kids going out on paper rounds.
Yes, they can.
Rubbish.
You don't realise the hold that they have over that Brussels has over us.
They don't have a hold over us. You know they're going to release some kind of document later on today. I think around about midday, which is supposedly going to be a renegotiation of the European deal with Britain.
Yeah, well, I mean that's David Cameron's idea, and he's got to sort that out himself.
Well, yeah, but surely you should take an interest in it since you're so anti-European. You should be looking at that document and telling me whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
What do you think about the idea that kids should no longer be able to deliver papers before they go to school?
I wouldn't let my kids deliver papers.
Why?
Because papers are dying and there's no point.
Well, what a ridiculous answer that is.
And also, they'll end up with stature like you because you told me that because of the weight of the bags of papers, that's why you're a kind of a stooped individual of diminished standing.
I tell you what, once a child at the age of 11 or 12 indicates they want to go out and earn their own money and deliver papers...
well, they can earn their own money doing a great number of things. Technically, they shouldn't be working... No, but technically they can't work below a certain age,
that child will become a fine person. I was delivering papers when I was 13.
Are you saying you're a shining example of a fine person?
Yes, I am. Really? I'm saying a shining example of somebody who wanted to stand on their own feet from an early age, earn their own money, have some independence from their parents, and that is the sign of a person who
it doesn't have to be
has got the right idea in life.
It doesn't have to be a paper.
Well, what else can it be then?
Well, you can do any number of things. You can go. You can earn money in the neighbourhood in which you live. You can go and wash people's cars. You can go and do errands for people.
Yeah, but
what's wrong with that?
The idea of delivering papers is that you're up early, you've got a fresh wind in your face, you're riding around on your bike, you're exercising.
Yeah, but no, it's too dangerous now.
No, it's not.
It is.
You have a sense of responsibility to find addresses which are sometimes remote and in the country.
Right,
and all that kind
so
of
you
stuff.
want 8-year-olds driving around on bikes in dangerous road conditions, looking for deserted cottages.
I've never heard of a paper boy or paper girl, fortunately.
No, because they don't really
being killed,
do it much anymore.
Thank God. Or injured on a bike.
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm talking about how roads are now much more congested than they were before. Cars are much more powerful. People are much worse drivers.
Well, they're not supposed to be because we're supposed to have like congestion charges to keep the amount of cars down.
But that's a useless argument, as you well know.
We're supposed to have overtaxed cars to keep them off the road.
When I went to college in London, right, I used to cycle from Hampstead every day down to Old Street and go to college, right?
Yes.
And never once did I get into any kind of accident situation, right?
Same with me.
Now, if I did it, no, you didn't go to City East London College.
No, I went to school on my bike. Which
but I mean, you lived in a peasant sort of, a settlement. I lived in London, the capital city of the country.
You think Chester's a peasant settlement, do you?
Well, probably where you were was.
So the 70,000 people of Chester now can write you off from ever visiting Chester.
I've been to Chester. I go to Chester. I would be happy to go to Chester. You're the one that doesn't revisit the place.
I don't think you'd be very welcome there anymore.
I would be welcome wherever I went because they know that I have an interest in the locale as opposed to a snobbish kind of view of people who go, "Oh, you live down that road, so I'm not going to talk to you." Oh, look, you drive a horrible car, so I'm not going to get anywhere near you.
I used to cycle my bike from one side of Chester right to the Welsh border to where my school was.
What about to the dodgy caravan knocking shop? Did you cycle to that as well?
No. I had the.
You had wheels for that.
I had the Chester Chronicle company car for that.
No, yes, of course, yeah. Mileage included.
Yes, that's
and
right.
Petrol.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yes.
No, but I mean the thing about Chester and London, with the best will in the world, and with the greatest love and affection to Chester, it's not the metropolis that is London.
Still busy. Any road is as busy as any other road.
It's a comparative thing, isn't it? I'm telling you that London was a lot busier busier than Chester was when you and I were younger. Okay,
Yeah, well, you
why
say
don't
so.
you just accept that?
Well,
why can't you just accept it?
Every city centre is busy.
You've got like a personality disorder.
No,
you
no.
can't admit that somebody else might be right and you might be wrong.
Every city centre is busy. Children should be allowed
That's
to
rubbish,
deliver
actually.
papers.
That's rubbish. That is complete and utter rubbish.
when they're a
I
teenager.
have walked around many city centres which are nothing like London.
Yeah, well, okay, I don't care. I'm telling
you
you,
don't care.
Chester was a very,
don't
very
let
busy...
the facts interfere with a good story.
Very, very busy
Oh, well, a
place in
thriving
those days.
metropolis.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
yes.
sure.
It was thriving.
There were traffic jams there in your day.
Yeah, well,
Really?
loads of traffic jams.
Because,
Yeah.
again, there were not traffic jams in the 50s when you grew up because there weren't that many cars.
I wasn't cycling around in the 50s, mate. It was
Why
in
not?
It was in the 60s.
Oh, you took a long time to learn how to ride a bike.
No. I was
Becky says
very,
this.
very young in the 50s.
Becky says this. Disaster planning, good. Best put a plan together for the trip to Bournemouth with flat tyres, especially need covering.
Yes.
So her advice is that we should have a bit of a disaster plan in case something goes wrong on the trip.
No, nothing will go wrong.
It's like a road trip. Things could go wrong.
No, nothing will go wrong.
Now, I've just had a communique from one of my spies over in America.
Oh, yes?
Saying that Trump is getting whacked in parts of Iowa.
Oh, is he?
I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that's true or not.
It's unconfirmed, but... well, one of the things they said that would be a problem, and for those who wonder why we're talking about it, the Iowa Caucuses are on tonight.
Yes.
We'll probably have some idea about 4 o'clock. They're saying that a lot of Trump supporters who are very big on the news and very big, sort of at rallies...
Have not, in fact, signed up for him.
Won't actually vote for him.
Right, OK. Dennis here says, ha! Old Porky claims he doesn't tell jokes, then he proceeds to tell the mock joke. Yes, well, that's true. That was taking the mickey out of jokes.
That was irony, wasn't it?
That was irony, yeah, I like that. Porky followers are beyond reproach. Only when MG is losing in winners and losers, he declares it null and void and wants a revote.
Not true.
Yeah, it's
true.
true.
No, not true. And the only time we had a revote was because of the interference of an outside agency, of which you are well aware, which unfortunately was a lewd and disgraceful interference into the otherwise pristine and pure quiz.
What you on about?
I'm talking about Harriet Sugar Cookie.
Harriet Sugar
The
Cookie.
cam girl.
The cam girl.
You've forgotten all that?
Cam?
It's like working with some kind of old git.
Sorry.
You've forgotten about the girl who threatened to take her top off if people voted for you.
Yes, but
You've forgotten about all that.
I just don't want to remember it because it's nothing to do with me. I can't help it if ladies get very excited.
Yeah, but the reason
by the thought of being with me and then start.
No, she doesn't want to be with you.
Well, why?
No, she was promoting her own website and frankly,
saucy messages
frankly,
all over the place.
If I show you what tweet she's got pinned to the top of her Twitter account, you would be literally horrified.
Yes, I think I probably would. Mike here sends a picture.
Look at the time.
Sends a picture of a house with an iron gate in front of it and says, "I found Porky's pad."
Yeah,
you see, that's you misinforming people.
You've got a prison gate on your apartment in Surrey. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've been there. This is Talk Sport.
Calling all emos, computer programmers, and blokes called Malcolm who still live with their mum.
Crikey, there must be more to life than this.
It's the revolutionary virtual human interface you can access without ever leaving your bedroom.
And what were you up to the other night? That's what I'd like to know.
How cool is that?
Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. The two Mikes, Parry and Graham, on Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There will be, of course, very, very soon another edition of Winners and Losers, which we were just talking about earlier. It's becoming the most controversial competition on Talk Sport. You'll be able to vote in it pretty soon. Also, we'll be going over to Iowa to find out what's going on over there in a little while. Now, I should tell you something about the predictor scenario. And I don't want you to blame me or start, bawling me out or giving me a hard time.
No, I won't.
I discovered very late on Friday afternoon that the predictor machine, which you're supposed to fill your scores into, would only accept scores predicted for this week by Friday at 5 p.m.
Right.
So I managed to get mine in, but I wasn't able to contact you to put yours in. So I'm afraid your predictions for this particular midweek set of games will probably be automatically generated by the computer.
I see.
Which is probably good news for you because it will do better than you.
No, it's not. How could a computer be brighter than me?
Yeah, I know. It seems incredible, doesn't it?
Of course.
Well, hang on. Let me just see if I can find out here, because if it's possible, I might be able to tell you what your predictions are before you even tell me.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's all blank.
It's all blank. So, in fact, there's no predictions in there at all.
So you won't be able to enter, because it says predictions received after 5 p.m. on Friday, January 29th, will not be included in the prize draw for game week 23.
Right, okay.
So I wonder if that means...
What does all that mean?
But that might mean for the money, which you can't win anyway.
What about our predictions for the midweek games?
Well, that's what I'm talking to you about.
Yes.
The rule on Selco Predictor was that your predictions had to be in by last Friday.
What, for tomorrow night's game?
Yes.
For tonight's game?
Yes.
And tomorrow night, because Everton are playing on Wednesday, of course.
Yes, the whole group of 10 fixtures.
So this is a pointless exercise?
No, it's not a pointless exercise, because people will be listening, and tomorrow, when we come back, you can tell whether you did well or not.
Okay.
And if you like, what I can do is submit them, and maybe all it means is you can't win any money.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
But maybe we can submit. We could try that, right?
Yeah, good idea.
I mean, why be so negative?
No, I'm not being negative. It's just that, once again, you've completely screwed up the...
I haven't. Well, if you knew how to do it yourself...
The order of how we do things...
I wouldn't be responsible for putting your scores in.
It's not a question whether I know how to do it myself.
You don't know how to do it.
I streamlined it.
You are a complete and utter Neanderthal Luddite.
I streamlined it to allow you to input the results, and then you forget to do it.
No, you did what you always do, right?
Head.
Which is that you delegate some responsibility to somebody else, so that when they screw it up, you can blame them.
Yeah,
and you made an entire career out of that.
I'm not blaming anybody.
Well, you just blamed me.
Yeah, I blamed you because you didn't get it right.
I'm not blaming anybody. I've just blamed you.
Yeah, but I don't blame people needlessly. I blame people when they're incompetent oafs.
I see. Excellent.
Right.
All right. Well, would you like to predict the score, please, for Arsenal against Southampton?
Arsenal-Southampton?
Yeah.
2-1 to Arsenal.
I've got 2-0.
Right.
Now, keep a copy of those, because I'll put them into the machine.
Okay.
Leicester versus Liverpool. This is a good one.
Leicester-Liverpool, that will be...
Which Liverpool will turn up? Did you see Klopp, by the way, at the weekend? Or was it the FA Cup, wasn't it, when they drew?
It was the FA Cup, they drew with West Ham.
And he said, it was like the world was conspiring against him, and he was saying, now we have another game to play.
Yeah.
Well, hello, why don't you just win the game?
Yeah, that's what happens when you draw.
And then you wouldn't have to replay.
If you don't put out a strong enough team, you draw. No. Right, that will be 2-0 to Leicester.
I've got 2-1.
Right.
Norwich City, where nobody goes, against Tottenham.
Norwich City against Tottenham, yeah. Tottenham are unstoppable at the moment. That's Norwich 1, Tottenham 3.
I've got 1-2.
Right.
So far we're the same. Now, this one, Sunderland against Manchester City.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's Sunderland 0, Manchester City 3.
I've got the most ridiculous prediction I've ever seen, which I put in on Friday. I must have been drunk. 1-1 I've got.
1-1, okay, yeah. Well, you never know.
Well, stranger things have happened. West Ham against Aston Villa.
Yes.
Will Remy Gard jump ship before the game is played?
Don't think so. They play in the same colours, claret and
I'm
blue.
under what? So I guess the away side, Villa, will play in something else.
In white, I would imagine. That's going to be West Ham. I think we'll go mad here, West Ham. I think it's 4-1 to West Ham.
I'll go 2-0 West Ham.
Right.
Do you think there's any chance they get in the top 4, by the way?
Who?
West Ham.
No. I think Spurs will be in the top 4.
Yeah, but
Spurs, Leicester, Arsenal, City.
Okay. Hard to argue with that, I suppose.
Yes.
That's not the order, though, is it?
No. I think, well, I don't know who's going to win the Premier League. Probably City.
It'd be great if it was Leicester,
But it'd be great if it was Arsenal or Leicester.
Imagine what a good prediction that would have been by me if they were to win it.
Yeah, well, you say that, but I mean, there's no evidence of that. Right, should we get on?
Yes, okay, sorry. You're very cranky tonight.
No.
Should we get on? I mean, you wasted most of the show talking a load of old cobblers about the people you don't like, the cars you don't like, various bits of...
Great cricketers come from public schools.
Yeah,
so
more snobbery.
Keep the public schools.
Okay,
yeah.
Crystal Palace, Bournemouth.
Bournemouth.
I suppose you should be a bit of a Bournemouth fan now, shouldn't you?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it is my family's hometown, but you can only support one team. However, I think Palace, for some unknown reason, have hit a bit of a sort of watershed.
They have, yeah.
So I'm going to say Palace 1, Bournemouth 3.
I'm saying Crystal Palace 2, Bournemouth 0. I always predict that Bournemouth will lose because it winds up Tom Latcham, who's a Bournemouth fan.
Yeah.
Manchester United against Stoke.
Yeah, United and Stoke.
Clash of the Titans.
Well, it's going to be a very close game.
I'm saying it's 0-0.
And Stoke are, exhibited their ambition by spending more money than any other club today on the last day of the...
Do you know, I've got a theory
deadline
about Stoke, though, because, I mean, Stoke could have been in the League Cup final, right? They might say that they were cheated out of it, in the same way that Everton would say that.
Yes.
But they're out of the FA Cup now, so, what's the point of Stoke, really?
Well, it's a bit harsh.
No, it's not, but they should be in one of the cups.
They're not going to make the top 4.
No, of course not.
True.
That's what I'm saying. And Mark Hughes, who people talk about as if he's a great manager, possible future manager of Chelsea, Manchester United, England, He's just so miserable. Every time I see him, he seems so miserable.
I'm going to say here, that's going to be a draw. I'm going to say 2-2.
2-2, Man United's Stoke.
Yes.
West Bromwich Albion against Swansea.
Sorry, what was your prediction for United?
I said 0-0.
0-0, okay.
I said that earlier.
Right, West Brom and Swansea.
Yeah.
West Brom will regain the initiative here. 2-1 to West Brom.
I say it's 2-2 because I think Swansea are kind of on the way back. I quite like looking at their new manager, to be honest. Everton and Newcastle.
Yes, Everton 3, Newcastle 1.
I've got 2-2.
Okay.
Because, I mean, they do have high-scoring draws, don't they?
Yeah.
And then finally, Watford against Chelsea, Wednesday.
Watford
7:45.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that will be because he hasn't lost yet, has he? So, I'm going to another draw.
Just Hiddink?
Yeah, another 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm saying 2-1 to Chelsea.
Okay.
But here's a question for you about John Terry.
Yes.
And you've been around a lot of footballers in your time.
Yes.
He, as you say, is probably feeling rather sort of hung out to dry, let down, whatever.
I would think so, yeah.
I mean,
miffed.
If I was advising him, I would tell him not to feel like that. I would say, actually, they're doing you a favour because they're giving you an opportunity to start somewhere else. But what's he going to be like for the rest of the season? It's a bit like what we were saying about Pellegrini.
Yeah.
He's no longer, going to be there after the end of this season.
I think Pellegrini's come to terms with it.
But have the players, though? That's what I'm saying.
Which players?
The Manchester City players.
Well, of course, because they're getting a man who's perceived to be a better manager even than Mr. Pellegrini.
I get that, but you know, I'm talking about when they're playing between now and before Guardiola arrives. You know, what's their incentive for doing their best?
Incentive is that you've got to remember that it seems to have been done in such a spirit that I think Pellegrini will be happy to pass on to Guardiola his thoughts about the players who put 100% into the game
I'm sure
and those
he
who
will.
don't.
But that might mean nothing. That might mean nothing.
Well, it might, but in my opinion, I never get this thing about, the players are demotivated now. It doesn't matter who your current boss is. There's going to be another boss if you lose the current boss.
Yeah, but you don't mind jumping ship in midstream, do you?
No, it's not
a
question.
lot of people have loyalty to...
It's not a question at all. What I'm saying is that you should give 100% at all times anyway.
Yeah, but they don't. Look at Chelsea. Look at Chelsea this year.
The thing that most irritates me is when, a club are in a bit of a malaise and you hear the captain or the manager saying, we're working very hard to put this right.
Yeah.
Well, aren't you working very hard all the time?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. You're especially working hard now.
Right. Well, they have to say that, don't they?
Well, yeah, but the use of language is terrible. Working very hard to get out of it, the other day in a cup tie, I remember seeing a manager before the tie. I won't embarrass him by saying it was. He said, "We're going to give our all for this tie because we want to get through to the next round."
Yeah.
Well, don't you give your all in every game you play?
Well, exactly.
It really irritates me.
That's true, but you
hell.
know as well as I do that the reality of these matters is that people don't.
Yeah,
and players fall out with their managers. They're demotivated, for whatever reason they want to leave.
It's a disgrace.
And I wonder whether it will affect John Terry, and I wonder whether it will affect some City players. Anyway,
it's a disgrace.
Now, how about this from someone who doesn't give his name, unfortunately? Hi guys, my daughter is 14 years old and does a morning paper round. Although I go with her whilst it's dark.
Excellent.
On another note, some years ago, after going trick or treating, she went to school the next day and sold all her sweets to her friends for a nice profit.
Excellent.
A true entrepreneur, your kind of person, Porky.
Yeah, definitely. That woman's got a big future. Good luck to her.
She hasn't got any friends, though.
And of course, she'll have friends.
All off.
She'll have friends because friends will recognise her as being a leader of people and a leader of women and, somebody who's got values and knows what to do in life.
Yeah, but I'm glad to see that the father goes with her because, I mean, a 14-year-old girl doing a morning paper round in the dark, I don't think it's very wise. I don't want to cast any aspersions on where you live or anything, but, I mean, it's not something that I would do.
Hey, by the way, I was telling you about all those public schools.
Yeah.
Do you know an awful lot of places in really good schools in this country now have been taken by Chinese children?
Well, traditionally they have always been taken by people from overseas, haven't they? A lot of them. Because they want their kids to be educated in this country.
And do you know what it's doing? It's pushing up the cost of private education in this country because there's so much Chinese money around that they're quite happy to say, for instance, I'm not saying to bribe or anything like that, but parents who like
Why
to
don't they charge the foreign kids more money? That would be more sensible.
They do.
They do.
And also, that means that the schools can take in foreign children who they're charging more money. They're going to have more foreign children. It's as simple as that.
That's why the whole system breaks down because unfortunately, people running these organisations and it's the same in a lot of companies and a lot of clubs and all that. They're just greedy. They don't need to charge the earth.
Some of the Chinese families are paying twice what English families or British families pay.
I don't object to that. But what they have to then do is set a quota so they don't fill the place up with people who are not.
Which school's going to turn that down? If you can buy a new swimming pool after upping the odds to
no, this is the problem with private schools.
To accommodate more Chinese children, why not?
But this is the problem with private schools. I mean, you're illustrating precisely what is wrong with the system, because basically what they're going to end up with is no spaces for anybody from here. So the private schools are going to become the domain of foreign parents. Well, and how is that good for us?
Well, it's not bad for us
because
it is. Any educated person in this country is going to contribute to our economy.
No, but they're not going to. They're going to go back to China.
Well, I'm not sure they do.
Of course they are.
I'm not sure they do.
Yeah, they are. Anyway, we're out of time again, unfortunately. Winners and losers coming next.
Transfer fees up. Season tickets up. High prices up. Why the bloomin' heck are you still up?
Topical sport and debate worth staying awake for.
The Two Mikes.
All night long.
On Talk Sport.
All night long.
Even the losers, you're lucky sometimes. Even the losers, keep running pride. They get lucky sometimes.
This is Talk Sports. We are the Two Mikes, and I've got an apology to make, actually, because we've got a lot of tweets and texts coming in asking us why we played out Sunday's news a little bit earlier on. It was what could only be described as a transmission failure.
I'm sorry about that.
Unfortunately, somebody who didn't recognise it as yesterday's news decided to play it. But never mind, these things happen. But here's what no one in particular has tweeted. Was it Porky's fault why Sunday's sports news report was rebroadcast at 3 a.m. today?
No, definitely not.
I can say it definitely wasn't his fault.
No.
But what I can also tell some of you who have tweeted in a rather, shall we say, negative way, suggesting that this show must somehow be pre-recorded because the news is old.
It's not.
Well, if the news was old because the show was pre-recorded, why wouldn't it have been old at every single hour?
Exactly. Yeah,
It
sorry
was a mistake. We do make them from time to time, even though Porky doesn't admit to it.
It was just a one-off, believe me.
It was. Now, as per usual, we will have a Twitter poll. Now, here's a new wrinkle, right, that somebody suggested to me.
A new wrinkle?
A new wrinkle.
Oh.
Somebody suggested it to me, but of course, you won't have to do anything, so I'm not sure if I can be bothered. But basically, the suggestion is that we also tweet out what our choices for winners and losers were, in addition to the ballot. Because sometimes people haven't had time to listen to the podcast.
I see.
Where they could glance at the winners variously and decide. But my argument against that is it might not work unless you can explain why you've chosen them.
I don't think we should put them in because, to be honest, I totally agree with you.
Without the explanation, you don't know if it's a good choice.
Sometimes you put one name in and people say, well, that should be in winners category. But you have to explain why you've got it in losers category.
Because you've done it in a clever way.
Yes, exactly. I do things in a clever way. You're right.
So thumbs down to that suggestion.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah,
okay. Now, would you like to go first with your losers?
No, you can go first with the losers if you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I will go first with my losers of the week. Well, my first loser of the weekend is Fox Sports USA.
Oh, yes.
Because I don't know whether you saw this, but it was tweeted out and it went a little bit viral. For their promo for the big game, Everton against Carlisle.
Yeah.
They showed a map, and on the map, Carlisle was in the right place, but unfortunately, Everton was in Bournemouth.
Right.
And so they basically put the Liverpudlian club 250 miles further south than they should have been.
When you work out that Texas is 3 times the size of Great Britain, I mean, it's.
But I mean,
what sort of?
I mean, America have been doing football now for a long time.
You'd have thought so.
What sort of plank would draw a map up and not actually check where Liverpool is?
Yeah, you'd have thought so.
And so that's my first one, right?
Okay.
My second loser is from Holland. Femke van den Driesch.
Oh, yes.
She's a 19-year-old cyclist. Now, you probably know the story. This is the story of the bike with the motor in it. Do you remember when Chris Froome was accused of having a motor in his bike? And we all fell about laughing and said, you see these dirty French, they're always coming up with these accusations.
That's right.
Turns out you can put a secret motor in a bike.
It's apparently, allegedly, in the water bottle.
No, it's not. It's in the what you would call the frame.
Yeah, but it's in the water bottle.
No, it's not in the water bottle. No, I saw an explanation of how it works.
No, I saw an explanation
from the manufacturers. It's not in a water bottle. Why would you put a motor in a water bottle?
Because you need fuel for the motor.
What?
You need fuel for the motor.
It's electric.
Yeah, but you need something like the battery that was in the water bottle.
What is it? Fuel or a battery? I don't think
it's a battery.
You haven't got to grips.
A battery is fuel.
Yeah, but it's not liquid fuel, is it?
Where do you think the electric motor was being powered from?
From a battery.
Yeah, and where was the battery?
The battery was also concealed.
No, it wasn't. It was in the water bottle.
Concealed. No, it was concealed under the saddle.
Anyway, let's get on.
What, you think we're taking too much time?
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, the poor woman, right, says that she's a victim of a mistake because she says it's somebody else's bike that somehow ended up in her possession.
Bike, yeah.
And she also said, which I thought was an interesting point, if I was cheating, I would have been doing an awful lot better this year than I am now.
And didn't she also realise that as the pedals were going round on their own, there might be something strange about her bike?
There is something weird about this because she says she hasn't used that bike and it was there by mistake, right? Yeah. But even so, she's still a loser.
She was pictured on the bike.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, she has basically, lost her reputation and she is really, unfortunately, not going to be in any way winning any races anytime soon.
Okay, let's get on with it.
Oh, excuse me, you're not in charge of hurrying me up.
Sorry,
you get stuffed.
This is getting rather droll.
If I decide to take a little bit longer...
Yeah, go on then.
Normally you go first, so you take all the time.
Go on.
You're going to have 10 seconds to do yours, right?
Go on.
Let me just find my information device.
I'm sorry, have you forgotten what your third loser is?
No, I know what it is, but there's a couple of good points I want to make. Greg Dyke is my third loser.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you why it's Greg Dyke. Greg Dyke has lorded over what can only be the biggest waste of time when he was running the FA that anybody has ever seen, right?
Yes.
The reason I say that is because not only is he leaving office in July, having accomplished nothing, right? He says that he's going to promise to try and push these various reforms through. And then he adds, because I'll be long gone by then and there'll probably be quite difficult and there'll be a lot of arguments and I don't want anything to do with it, right? Now, the problem is, however, that there's a new wrinkle to this because, this Alexandre Pato, who's come to play for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Under the new rules that Greg Dyke brought in, he shouldn't have been able to qualify to play here. Because remember he said, basically, that, what we want to do is restructure the whole system.
It's a very complicated one, this, isn't it? How long's this go on for?
I'm sorry that your brain power is not capable of taking all this in.
I'm just worried about the listeners getting bored stiff with all these ridiculous
If I was worried about the listeners getting bored stiff, I tell you, they'd be doing a lot of things differently. Alexandre Pato, or Pato, as he's called, should never have qualified to play here. He's a nobody. He hasn't played for Brazil since 2013, right? Okay. So Greg Dyke, your big mate, right, who is a disgrace and he's a massive loser. Right. Those are my three losers. Greg Dyke, Femke van den Driesch, and Fox Sports.
Thank God we got that over with.
Now, you got 10 seconds to do yours.
Right, my losers are, first of all, Gary Neville. I'm afraid that Gary Neville, turning on a reporter and having not won a game in 8 for Valencia, is a loser. My second loser is Berahino. He's obviously the West Brom forward. He didn't get his move that he wanted in the transfer window. The Mr. Peace, the chairman of West Brom, stood firm and said, no, he's not going anywhere. So he's now left with no new club.
Well, so how's he a loser if he's playing for West Brom?
Because he's not playing for West Brom. He can't get into... No, he can't get into the first team.
He played for them the other day.
I'm telling you, he's played 3 games this season.
He scored a goal.
He's played 3 games from this season.
Yeah, but he scored 2 goals. He came on as a sub.
No, he came on as a sub. That's absolutely right. But he can't get a starting place at West Brom. And my third loser, and I thought this was obvious to everybody concerned, is Remy Gard.
Remy Gard?
Yeah, the
as opposed to Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, the Aston Villa
Why is he a
manager.
Loser? Well, because he hasn't won anything.
Well, he's a loser because he's supposed to be the manager of Aston Villa, but he's gone to the owner, Mr. Lerner, and said, I want 30, 40, 50 million quid the transfer, and he's got not a penny. Right. So he's got not a penny, he hasn't acquired a player, he hasn't got a victory under his belt, and frankly, I've never seen a more adept loser to join the losers category in the whole of the time we've done this competition. Those are my losers: Gary Neville, Berahino, Remy Gard. I say they're brilliant compared to old MGs.
Well, I haven't done mine yet. So how can you compare them?
What?
How can you compare them to mine?
What are you on about?
My losers.
You've done your losers.
Oh, yeah, I have, haven't I?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to confuse you.
What an idiot.
Let's do the winners.
Everyone's a winner, baby, that's no lie. That's no lie. You never fail to satisfy.
Okay, we have to race through these, apparently. Right. My first winner of the weekend is the Premier League, right? And do you know why?
It's a very odd one.
Because the most sought-after manager in the world is coming to work here. Okay. And that's why. Okay. So it's not... I mean, obviously it's good for Manchester City. It's great for Sergio Aguero. But inevitably it's great for the Premier League. Yeah. My second winner of the weekend, and now that I've sought your advice on how to pronounce it, is Shrewsbury. Right? Shrewsbury, 2-1 down with 5 minutes to go against Sheffield Wednesday. Won 3-2. Yeah. Although this is slightly troubling, with a goal in the 7th minute of added-on time, right? But it's the first time they've been in the FA Cup last 16 since 1991, and they've got Man United at home. So I think that's a brilliant result for them, and I'm very much in favour of them. And then finally, Ross County.
Yes.
are my big winners this
Really?
week. They're actually the biggest. You've never heard of Ross County?
Ross County, I'm sure they have, yeah.
They're a team that play in the Scottish Premiership.
Yes, I know that, yes.
They knocked
And they beat
Celtic
yes.
out of the Scottish League Cup.
Yeah,
They're now
not
in the
bad.
final against Hibs, right?
Yeah.
And do you know what they're called?
What?
Well, you're called the Toffees. Do you know what Ross County are called?
Yeah, they're called the Rossers.
They're not. It's
No?
quite close, though. It's the Staggies.
There you go, you say.
The Staggies.
Yeah.
But here's one further piece of information, okay? Jim McIntyre, their manager,
Yes.
right, is a great example of why you shouldn't fire managers because
Right.
they're now, at this time last year, they were bottom of the division.
Right.
Right. They finished 9th in the end last season
Right.
because they won every game practically since January.
Mm.
They're now 4th, right? They're in the cup final. He lost 17 out of his first 19 games in charge.
My God.
And
But he's still there.
But the chairman kept him on.
Okay, fine.
Right.
They're your winners.
So those are my winners. Ross County, Shrewsbury and the Premier League.
Yeah, very average. in
Beat
my
that
view.
if you can.
I will beat it. The first winner...
Fat man.
First...
I think I'll start calling you that. That's great, isn't it?
Really?
With apologies
Funny, D.
to Neil Custis.
Right, my first winner is Jose Mourinho.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's clearly now going to be Manchester
unemployed.
United manager.
Well, if you say that, it's not going to happen.
It is going to happen because now Pep Guardiola's at City. He will now go to Manchester United. My second winner,
Go on.
and he deserves a huge tribute, is Jamie Murray, the brother of Andy Murray.
Yeah, I
Andy
don't mind
Murray,
that.
of course, failed in the Aussie Open, but
Well, he
Jamie
didn't
Murray
fail. I mean, he was beaten by a much better player.
Yeah, okay, but Jamie Murray became the champion in the doubles and is now second highest rated doubles player in the world.
What about the wheelchair champion?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going for Jamie Murray.
Well,
And
the
my-
wheelchair
and my-
champion's British as well.
Very good, and he did
Very
a brilliant
good.
job. But I'm saying Jamie Murray, in light of his brother's dominance in the tennis world,
Yeah.
did an even better job. And my third one is Stephen Flanagan. Stephen Flanagan is a young Liverpool fullback, hadn't played for 2 years due to a damaging knee injury,
Yeah.
and everybody's delighted to see him back at Anfield versus West Ham on Saturday. What a comeback for a young man who's
you're
a
creeping
future...
to Liverpool fans now.
No, who's a
Yeah, you
future England international. It was
Creeping.
good to see him back.
Creeping.
Jose Mourinho,
I'm
Jamie
surprised you
Murray,
didn't put Terry
Stephen
Wogan
Flanagan.
in there somewhere.
No, well, I mean, that's distasteful. That is distasteful
Well, hang on.
in the extreme.
Well, no, you put
Yeah.
put people who have been deceased.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
No, I
you
haven't.
put that. You did.
No, never
yes, you
put
did.
a deceased person in.
Yes, you did.
No.
I can't remember who it was,
No,
but you definitely
exactly.
did it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was winners and losers.
Yeah,
The voting-
I commend mine. I think mine are much, much better, folks. Remember, vote Porky, vote often.
Yeah, and please keep your clothes on while you're doing it as well. This is Talk Sport.
Stimulating late-night sporting debate for long-distance lorry drivers, young mums
What time do you call this? Coming on?
and students who've taken too many of those caffeine tablets.
The two mics, Parry and Graham on Talk Sport.
Would you like to go first or second in the voting?
In what voting?
Well, you can have your name at the top or you can have your name second.
Oh, I think my names just can't help themselves. As
No.
no. Say, you know, during that storm, by the way.
Yeah, hang on, we've got a guest to talk to.
Oh,
now.
right, let's talk to the guest. That's
We'll
a great
talk about
idea.
the storm in a moment
Yes,
because there's a
indeed.
bit of a storm and storm clouds over Iowa.
Indeed.
You like the way I linked that?
I like that, yeah.
Des Moines, they worried actually turnout might be low because there's a massive snowstorm going on. But we're going to talk to Dean Borg now, who's with Iowa Public Radio. Because I'm told that it was a bit of a disappointing figure for Mr. Donald Trump. Dean, a very good morning to you. Good evening to you there.
Well, good evening and good morning to you.
Thank you very
Indeed,
much.
thank you.
Now, is it true that Donald Trump has had not a massive setback, but just a lower number than perhaps he might have hoped?
Well, I think it's a lower number than he might have hoped for, but he has been downplaying expectations, saying he wants to win Iowa. He kept telling his rallies, my numbers are running strong and I want to win Iowa, but I think that he all along was downplaying expectations, and it could be expected because Ted Cruz had a very intricate, well-oiled, well-planned machine, a political machine in Iowa. He did everything right. From the phone calls to the people knocking on doors to the mailers, Ted Cruz had a good organization to get out the people who he counted for in the caucuses tonight. And Donald Trump didn't have that kind of an organization. He flew in, flew out, and
Did I see him? Sorry to interrupt you, Dean. Did I see him flying in the Trump jet to the accompanying music of Air Force One?
Yes. In fact, up in Dubuque, Iowa, which is along our Mississippi River, a couple of days ago, he had a rally out at the Dubuque airport, and just for show, he made a flyover, a low-level flyover in the Trump aircraft over the crowd, and they loved it.
Yeah, they would love it. Now, Dean, is this result significant enough to back up what many people say, and that is that whilst there are millions of people who say they're going to vote for Donald Trump and they love his rhetoric and they love his his tub-thumping, we love America and all that, when it comes down to it, they're not going to vote for him as president because they think he's a bit over the top.
And I think that you have something there, and I think that many people, many analysts have felt that all along. His support really hadn't been tested. Yes, he turned out big crowds and probably will continue to be just because he's Donald Trump, and they like to see what you might some have described as the spectacle. But
he certainly brightened up the hustings, hasn't he?
Indeed.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, indeed. But on the other hand, Dean, Iowa is and New Hampshire, of course, when it comes up, are so unstable sometimes. I think I'm right in saying that didn't Bill Clinton call himself the comeback kid because he started off very poorly in this part of the election campaign, but then rallied.
That's right, and that's what we need to watch for, both in the Democratic candidate campaign and the Republican. Now, Ted Cruz, the very, very conservative Texas senator, has won the Iowa caucuses tonight. He's been declared the winner, even though all the precincts aren't yet counted.
Right.
But Ted Cruz has been named, projected to be the winner.
And is that a surprise to you, Dean, or not?
No, because of what I've just said. He organized very well. And what I'm about to say is that he took advantage of the large percentage within the Republican Party in Iowa of very conservative Christian fundamentalists.
Right. Presumably they're not that keen on the several times divorced young girlfriend chasing Donald Trump, are they?
That's right. But to your point, will he find that same favorable electorate in New Hampshire and South Carolina?
Probably not, right?
No, that's right.
Yeah.
And so that's where you've got to look at Florida Senator Ted Cruz's fellow senator in the United States Senate, Marco Rubio from Florida.
Right.
There's where you've got to look at what Marco Rubio did tonight. Marco Rubio is really neck and neck with Donald Trump in the standings as the caucuses are being counted right now, neck and neck, with Marco Rubio coming on strong, a more moderate Latino Republican. He probably will be expected to run more strongly in those other more moderate states.
Sure. Now, we're also hearing, Dean, and I know we won't keep you because I know you're very busy, at the precinct in Des Moines, they ran out of ballot papers.
I don't know that because I was at a precinct elsewhere, and so I don't know about ballots. But
well, maybe you'll read it on the wires or something.
It's just, if that was at a Republican precinct, it's just a matter of tearing up some paper and passing it out to people.
We don't want to go back to that hanging chads business, do we?
No, because in the Republican precincts, all they did was write a name down on a piece of paper, and then those pieces of paper were counted. That's the way the Republican caucus does it. Democrats do it a bit differently.
Okay.
This is a long race, isn't it, Dean? And we are literally just on the
they've been doing it for months
step.
as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, the funny thing, Dean, Mike and I both covered elections in America. I mean, we're now starting to get interested in this country because something's actually happening. For the last several months, it's all looked a bit nebulous.
Yep, I understand what you're saying, and yes, you're absolutely right. Now,
let me just ask you one last question, actually, before you make your last point. After tonight, will there be a kind of consolidation of all the Republican candidates? Because there's way too many of them.
Well, and that's the point. We were going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Iowa's role really isn't to pick a winner for the presidency. Iowa's role is to winnow the field, and that's what we have done tonight. Already, Mike Huckabee, who 8 years ago won the Republican caucuses in Iowa, has already declared that he's suspending his campaign. Iowa has already winnowed some candidates, even before this caucus night, and we will winnow more after tonight. Huckabee already.
Great stuff. Dean, thank you very much. I'm told Martin O'Malley's pulled out as well. He was the guy who was in the debate with Hillary Clinton. He actually made some sense, but he was never going to get anywhere. This is Talk Sport. We're the Two Mikes.
If you love the Two Mikes podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the Talk Sport app. Talk Sport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
Talk Sport.